What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4CD91 When my name is Tianyue, I have been waiting for you, Lord, for 800 years, please subscribe. Advertisement Marijoy, the deepest part of Pangu City among the flowers. As the most important area of the holy city where the celestial dragons live, it also welcomes 7 people with the most power in the world. Godmother, what's wrong? Are you so anxious to come to me? Looking at the familiar and beautiful woman sitting on the huge throne in front of him, and the 5 middle-aged men half kneeling next to them with respectful expressions on their faces, Ivan, who had just arrived, also looked a little confused. The atmosphere seems a bit serious now. Even the 5 elders are here. Could it be that something very serious really happened? Ivan, come here and sit down. But at this time, the beautiful woman sitting in the seat did not tell him what happened first. Instead, she patted the seat next to her and motioned for him to sit down, which made Ivan, who was still standing below, a little confused again. You are the king now, sit down. But when he heard this, he reacted, then walked up a little awkwardly and sat next to Im. To be honest, even if his godmother didn't tell him, he would have forgotten that he was already the so-called Dragon King. Well, he himself has no real sense of this identity. There seemed to be no difference between being a kid and not being a kid. His little life was going on as usual. Moreover, it seems that there is nothing for him to do. The current situation is that real troubles can only be solved after they arise. Now you've summoned a woman again, right? It's Ren's sister. I was afraid that she would be lonely, so I summoned her. Godmother, did you call me here because of this incident? It's not because you suspected something was wrong with her, right? Don't worry, they're fine. However, this godmother now actually started asking about these things that seemed more like 8 trigrams. What about the world events that were promised? But Ivan soon became a little worried. Could it be that he was called here because he summoned Kanae? This is really unnecessary. He is still very relieved about Kanae's character, and Acids and the others are so strong that they don't seem to worry their godmother. Could it be that there are too many people summoned, and they are afraid of causing the world to collapse, or something? In some novels, there seems to be people like this often. Will my godmother also believe that? No problem, it's good. She looks good, has a good figure, and will be good at giving birth to children. Godmother, why did you come to me? Ivan, who was still worried at first, was a little bit dumbfounded when he heard such words coming out of the other party's mouth. Isn't this just like ordinary parents looking at their daughter-in-law and asking you questions? My godmother is not married, but she has learned this skill well. Speaking of which, she did read a lot of comics and probably understood it. But what exactly is this? Judging from her asking these things, it shouldn't be a big emergency. It's nothing. I want you to understand your responsibilities as a king. I want you to send someone to retrieve those dangerous stone tablets. It turned out to be quite an important event. When he heard this, Ivan's originally relaxed heart could only be troubled again, and he couldn't help showing a somewhat depressed look on his face. He held a succession ceremony on the first night of the previous World Summit. All the celestial dragons were present at that time, and he officially became the Dragon King. However, he didn't pay much attention at that time. He put on a cloak casually, and even if he passed, the whole process only took about 20 minutes. The celestial dragons, on the other hand, seemed to have been waiting there early in the morning, and were still discussing excitedly at night. And he came on stage at the end, and then sat in this position for a while, and they cheered like nothing. After everyone left, he himself went further inside among the flowers, went to find his godmother, and asked him why he gave him the king. She didn't say anything at the time, she just said, I've been here for too long and I want to find an heir. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It would have been better if you had said this earlier, but if you say this now, how can you back out? Of course, Ivan couldn't say he was quitting. This was something that others only dreamed of, so he had nothing to complain about. Advertisement at that time, he also asked what he needed to do, but his godmother only told him to go to the World Summit and show up. That's why he went to participate at that time, otherwise, he would still be resting at home. As a result, now, there is something like an inscription again. You already know the stone tablets, which point to that place. There are 30 stone tablets in total. 9 of them record information and 4 guide the route. Although it is very safe now, if possible, I still hope to put them take it back. You know the reason. Okay, I know. Hearing his godmother rarely say so many words at once, Ivan nodded silently and answered somewhat seriously. Indeed, the importance of those stone tablets affects the entire world. If you don't get it back, according to the plot of the original work, you will probably be found by Wong Luffy. Of course, that was more than 20 years later. But there have been some changes in the world, and Ivan doesn't know if there will be anything different. If it is obtained by one of the 4 emperors in advance, the impact on the result will be too great. Only. Do you already know where those stone tablets are now? Although it was already understood in the original work, in this era of more than 20 years ago, it was really hard to say. Yes, Lord Ivan, we have already grasped the position. At this time, did not speak, but the 5 elders below had already spoken. One piece is with the big pirate Kaido, one is with Wano Kuni who is casting the stone tablet, and the other should be with the minister of the Fishman Island. Oh, what about the remaining piece? It should be said that it is at Big Mom's place. According to the original plot, it should be like this. 0. There is another piece, which is hidden in the Tianue pavilion of our Tianue family. Sir Ivan, please rest assured, it is very safe. The situation seems a little different from what he imagined. Looking at the bald, middle-aged man wearing glasses and holding a knife in his hand, looking at him seriously, Ivan also felt a little big-headed. Why are you here? How did the back part get stolen by Big Mom? Currently, they don't know where the remaining red stone tablets are, so there is no need to be too anxious about this matter. But there is something you need to do personally. What is it, godmother? Come out, she. Yes, Lord I am. At this time, I am suddenly called out not far behind him, and then a cold voice came out not far away and slowly walked up to Ivan. But when Ivan saw the appearance of this figure, his pupils were as wide as ever. This is an extremely beautiful girl. It has green hair, a bunch of hair on the left and right, and a hair ornament on the right side of the hair. Wearing a short skirt similar to Wano Kuni clothing, with slender legs, yellow short boots, and a samurai sword on his waist. But what shocked Ivan was not her extraordinary appearance, but the fact that he knew her. Ivan, he will be your new allegiance from now on. He is the one you have been waiting for, right? Yes, Lord, my name is Tianue, and I have been waiting for you for 800 years. Seeing this girl looking at him with a happy smile on her face and saying these words excitedly, Ivan was a little confused. Ah, what is this situation? Loss? 92 Great Prophet I am, please subscribe. Advertisement. Ivan felt that although he said he didn't know everything about One Piece, he had watched it for more than 10 years, so he could be considered a senior pirate fan. The basic common sense logic is still clear. Although not much was written about this character in the original work, his memory is relatively clear because he is extremely beautiful, and his identity and fruit abilities are extremely special. But now, the facts seem to be much different from what he remembered. Therefore, looking at the young green-haired girl in front of him, Ivan's mind was filled with confusion and he was really confused. According to the timeline, this woman who should be called Mrs. She, in his impression should have married and had children with Oden by now. She may die in a few years. Why is it that not only has it not gone to sea, but it has also appeared on Marie-Joyce's 317? Shouldn't she be on the opposite side of conquest? Speaking of which, Sky and Moontime? Yes. Her name is Tianue. The surname Tianue comes from the same family as the bald kimono guy in 5 Elders. In other words, is she also a member of the Celestial Dragons clan? Ivan looked at the green-haired girl in front of him in confusion and the bald man with glasses over there, feeling that it was completely impossible to classify them as belonging to the same family. But he has indeed forgotten that this so-called Mrs. She seems to have her own surname, which is indeed Tianue. 800 years. Well, are you the same as my godmother? Are you talking about living for more than 800 years like Lord I am? No, I don't have the ability like Lord I am. I traveled to this place from 800 years ago through my own fruit of time ability. In terms of time, in fact, I have only been here a few months. I just said that I have been waiting for you for 800 years. I was too nervous and exaggerated, please don't mind. Tianue Shi was a little reserved and nervous at first when he spoke, but when he talked about it later, his face showed a little bit of embarrassment, and he used the index finger of his right hand to gently scratch his blushing face. Sheik said a little shyly. Her exquisite appearance coupled with such an expression was so cute that Ivan was a little moved by the sight of her. Of course, let's put it aside first. Have you always been in Marie-Joy? And why did you go from 800 years ago to now? These questions are actually what he wants to know most now. A few months ago, that is to say, it has never appeared before. At this time, the motivation is too strange. The changes in the world line should be in the future. Why is the past also change? Yes, I came to Marie-Joy less than half a year ago. I have been following the original prophecy, saying that when the gate of time and space opens, I will come to the world where I should be, and then once I meet my destined king, I can completely save my hometown. Advertisement. What is your hometown? Wano Kuni. It is said to be a country surrounded by waterfalls. I myself have always been in the Tianue family living overseas. When I appeared in the Tianue family of this era some time ago, Lord I Am discovered me and asked him to I came over and said that after you inherit the Tianlong throne, I will let you take me back to Wano Kuni. This is fate, it always feels like it's died. What kind of prophecy, destiny, etc. are too troublesome. What does that so-called prophecy refer to specifically? According to the prophecy of that year, 800 years later, a new king will appear. He can open the door to Otherworld, summon strong men from all worlds, and then completely change the pattern of this world, unifying the world, including complete liberation. Including my hometown Wano-kuni, that king is you. Do you also believe the prophecy made 800 years ago? Could it be that you were bragging? Who made the prophecy? Oh. Well, it's you, godmother, that's no wonder, it will be extremely accurate. Hearing the words suddenly come out of the beautiful woman next to him, and her cold eyes, which seemed a bit resentful, Ivan was stunned for a while, and then awkwardly complimented her. Depend on, it turns out you still have this ability. Lord I.M. was the most powerful prophet 800 years ago. It is said that he can predict most of the crises and opportunities in the future. At this time, Shi Yi explained, and the 5 elders on the side also nodded, their faces full of seriousness and respect. Ivan felt a little embarrassed instead, and he didn't dare to look at Qian Ma who was standing beside him. Ahem. Her bragging just now seemed to make her very dissatisfied. Ivan, you don't seem to believe me. Ahem. How could it be possible? Of course I trust you very much, but I was a little confused just now. How can you be sure that this so-called king will be mine? It won't happen when you see me, you will be sure, right? Ivan quickly waved his hands to deny and then quickly changed the topic. Of course, he was indeed a little curious. According to her, it seemed that the king would appear during this period. Could it be that when he met I.M., it was planned by him? No, at that time I just thought that this child was very interesting. I didn't know for sure until you turned 20 this year. Didn't you summon the woman from Otherworld at that time? You mean Albedo? But after all these years, I am not the only one who has successfully connected to the Otherworld, am I? The evidence is that she came to the world of 4.2 on the same day and at the same time as that woman. Do you think this is a coincidence? When he heard this, Ivan looked at Im's calm eyes and felt a sudden realization. That day happened to be the first day of his awakening system. Anyway, I have already written about things that happened so long ago, so I might as well just stop Mrs. It doesn't seem to have much impact anyway. I can just make some magic changes myself. As for Oden, let him, it's probably okay to find a random woman, or just be a bachelor. Anyway, Momonosuke is disgusting. To be honest, I think this father and son are very annoying. One is a brat, and the other is an idiot, they're dead. You deserve it, don't say I'm ugly, it's really like that. I can't hold on to 20,000 words today, I can't hold it in. I'll try another chapter or 2 at most, I was too tired yesterday. 93 Get ready for Wano-kuni, please subscribe, advertisement. Because of the special nature of time, I asked her to use her ability to find the biggest time crack in the future. She found that it was about 800 years later, so she came here. About half a year ago, when I confirmed that you had awakened your ability and time had come to this time point, I finally confirmed that you were the king I was looking for. Is that so? No wonder you called me over right away when I summoned Albedo and asked me a lot of strange questions. After hearing this explanation, Ivan also muttered to himself and sighed silently. Now that I think about it, nearly half a year ago, when he awakened his ability on the first day, his godmother called him over directly. At the beginning, he was a little nervous, fearing that it would be discovered that he was a time traveler and exposed, and then he would be feared by his godmother and killed. Do you have any special power? Did you really summon someone from the otherworld? Do you feel okay? Fortunately, although his godmother asked him a lot of sensitive questions, she did not mean to hurt him. Instead, she cared about him very much. I can only say that the most meaningful thing I have done after traveling through time is to recognize her as my godmother. Well, now I can be sure that the god you met is extraordinary and can definitely lead our world back on track. When he said this, Yimu also stretched out his hand, put it on Ivan's face, touched it gently, and then smiled faintly. To be honest, she actually always regretted it at the beginning. If she had known earlier that Ivan was the king, she would not have been waiting like that, and would not have been cold to him at the beginning. Just because Ivan had never awakened his ability, she always thought he was an ordinary person, so in many things, she wanted to try her best to avoid getting along with him too well. Because people will die after all, if you want to get an eternal life like her, you need a very special opportunity. I have lived for more than 800 years, and I have already looked down on many things. Don't get too close to others, otherwise when you are separated by life and death, she will feel a little lonely. But at the moment when she confirmed Ivan's identity, she really regretted it. In the past few years, I have always been cold to Ivan, which has isolated him from other celestial dragons. They only help him a little when he is complained about. Alas, if I had known earlier, I should have been more gentle to him from the beginning. Is that so? I have never thought about such a complicated and great thing, godmother, maybe I can't do it, and I don't have much idea to do it. Looking at Im's expression that was much gentler than usual, Ivan was also a little moved. He knew that I really loved him, and after confirming that he was the king, his relationship with him became much more obvious. Before that, maybe he dared not care about him too much. He also felt this kind of thing. In fact, people's feelings are often connected. When they treat each other sincerely, they can always feel each other's true feelings. Ivan himself was an orphan before, and he didn't have many friends. After crossing over, the first and few people who cared about him were only I. So he really treated I as half of his mother and half of his sister. So at this time, Ivan also said his thoughts directly with some laughter and tears. In fact, he himself has expressed this point of view many times. Advertisement: I live a good life, I don't have to worry about food and clothing, I'm well dressed, I'm happy in every aspect, and there are so many girls, what else can I be dissatisfied about? The only thing I might be a little dissatisfied about is that there is no internet. It is impossible to access the internet as before. But over the years, I have become accustomed to it, and when I have a girl with me, I actually don't have so many thoughts anymore. And when you are living so well, why do you want to think about saving the world? I know, so just do it a little bit. You don't need to do too much. Once it's solved, I can see some future now, and the world is slowly getting better. However, I did not blame Ivan for his irresponsible answer. Instead, he encouraged him softly and said words that seemed to comfort him. After so many years of getting along with him, she naturally knew Ivan's character. But it doesn't matter, character does not necessarily determine the future of the world. Anyway, what she saw was a future that was better than the present, and that was enough. You can see it now. Before, godmother, couldn't you see my future identity? Ivan looked at I with some curiosity and noticed the subtle difference in her words. It seems that this prophecy ability should have certain limits, otherwise, it would not be impossible to tell whether he is a king or not. Yeah, I don't see things about the present, and things about myself. Well, it doesn't seem to be a universal ability. Ahem, godmother, what should I do now? After seeing I staring at him, Ivan quickly coughed and changed the topic again, speaking seriously. This look seems a little weird. Could it be that he is remembering the time when he complained about 883's prophecy ability? Whenever you are ready, go to Wanokuni, get the stone tablet back, and liberate it by the way. There's a big pirate Kaido there now, and he is not weak, so you have to be careful. Well, I know, I'm still absolutely sure. Well, I'll let she go with you, please step back first. After Yi Mu said these words, she issued an eviction order, and soon everyone left silently, leaving her alone in this huge Pangu city, looking extremely depressed and lonely. Not really, she had long been used to it and didn't feel lonely. Only, regarding her prophecy ability, there is actually another subtle thing that she did not tell Ivan. In the past, she was able to see Ivan's future. She could see the process of growing up, so she knew immediately what mistakes Ivan made and what troubles he got into, and she took care of him. But after Ivan awakened his ability, she lost sight. In this case, there is only one possibility. That is the future Ivan, who will be closely related to her destiny. As for what kind of relationship it is, only they themselves in the future will know. 94 Destroy the Beast's Pirates, please subscribe. Advertisement: Marijoy, the Astoria Mansion of the Dragon King. My name is Tianyue. From today on, I will be disturbing here, please give me your advice. I have to say that for the people in this home, there may be new changes every day. When they saw the green-haired woman with such an iconic appearance and such a tall figure in front of them, she bowed deeply to them and behaved so dignifiedly and with excellent temperament, the girls present couldn't help but they subconsciously compared themselves to her. Mature women who can be slightly better in some aspects may feel a little relieved. But for those girls who are still in their immature state and have not yet sprouted and grown, it is a bit depressing. Well, that's it. Ashi will join us from now on. Let's all get along well. At this time, someone also had a relaxed and casual expression on his face, as if he was talking about very common things. But his eyes also knew how to avoid everyone's gaze and did not look at anyone. Well, after all, their sight is a bit dazzling now. Oh, it's here again. Lord Ivan really won't stop at all. Indeed, this happens from time to time, so doesn't it mean that I only have time to be alone with the master at night? The two more mature ladies on the side could not help but complain softly at this time. Although one of them said something subtle like tiger or wolf, it shouldn't actually be that exaggerated. Ninja-chan, are there many cases like this? Well, it happens from time to time. The people here all appeared next to the Lord within the past 6 months. That's like this. I thought you two had been together for many years? That's pretty much what it means. It's quite a headache sometimes. The two sisters on the side also started whispering, although the voices were not too quiet. As for the immature little girls, they didn't dare to speak at this time. They were training, reading, and doing whatever they had to do. But without exception, they all quietly set their sights on this tall and beautiful woman. But what troubles them now is, doesn't it mean that it takes more than a month to summon the interval? This was just summoned not long ago, why did another one come? Moreover, Konoha has a very gentle and easygoing personality, and can blend into any environment at once, and they no longer feel any sense of disobedience. But this woman always feels. He seems a bit serious, with a righteous and awe-inspiring look on his face. You know, among the women present, except for Shinobu and Konoha, the rest are not from the good camp. So when they saw this woman who straightened her back and looked serious, they couldn't help but feel a little depressed. I just hope she is not the kind of woman who is rigid. That would be boring and annoying. Speaking of which, my lord, when do we leave for Wano-kuni? Lord? Wano-kuni? However, at this time, Shi's speech again made people feel a little confused. By the way, let's not talk about this familiar title, it sounds like they are going to other countries? Well, after a while, we have to make more preparations. Otherwise, it will easily lead to insufficient information and so on. It may not be safe, right? Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you be victorious in every battle. Oh, as expected of you, my lord, you are so thoughtful. So what supplies do we still need now and what information do we need to collect? Please tell me and I will collect them all as soon as possible. Don't look at me like this. In fact, I still have a certain degree of confidence in my abilities in this area, and I will definitely not disappoint you, my lord. Advertisement. Well, take your time, don't be in a hurry. There are still many things that you haven't taken into consideration. You can't wait until you are there to think about what else is missing, right? For example, the opponent's number of people, combat effectiveness, and the ability to rescue the people. We should think about materials, manpower, and future means of livelihood. After liberation, we cannot say that the people there will continue to be dominated. There must be a certain improvement in life. Yes, I was too abrupt, as expected of your lord. XN, what on earth is going on? It sounds like a very serious matter, but I always feel like something is weird. Lord Ivan, are we getting ready to go to Wano-kuni? Albedo looked at Ivan with some confusion. Sir Ivan went to Pangu City before, probably to meet Mother. But why did he suddenly say to bring this woman, and go to what is called peace? Well, after a while, we are going to Wano-kuni, liberate it, and then bring back a very important stone tablet. Huh? XN, the stone tablet. Lord Ivan, is that not what you were talking about? Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but feel a little confused. But only Robin's doubts were a little different from everyone else's. She had seen the stone tablet inside the flowers with her own eyes. If there are stone tablets in other places, it would be really something extraordinary. It must be recycled immediately. Well, it's just what you imagined, but don't worry, there are many separate location displays, and some of them are right here with us, so they won't all be discovered. Oh, the country is free. Fortunately, after hearing this, Robin finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, her appearance also made everyone else present feel a little confused. You should know that although Robin is very young, his personality is already relatively calm. He is relatively quiet most of the time, his personality is mostly gentle, and he does not have such big mood swings. But this time when he heard this strange, stone tablet, he made these strange remarks, which was really confusing. However, this kind of thing is difficult to explain now. The less people know about it, the better. There is another person who has also seen the stone tablet, that is Ace Day. Good money is good. She has even seen it with her own eyes. But she didn't care about it, she had no interest in it and couldn't understand the stone tablets. But there was one thing that made her feel a little interested. Master, is the Wano-kuni you are talking about very powerful? Using their strength to liberate Wano-kuni doesn't sound like they are going to fight? It's really interesting, the opponent's strength doesn't seem to be weak. Well, it is quite strong. This country has been closed to the outside world and is very conservative, but its strength is very strong. But another key point is that there is another person who is more troublesome to manage there now. Who is it? The big pirate, Kaido, and his beast's pirates are also there. If we go, I think I'll just kill them all together. Isn't this one of the most powerful pirate groups in the world? This way, you really have to fight head-on. 95. Do you want to take Marine's bunch of losers with you? Please subscribe. Advertisement. Wano-kuni, the New World, located in the second half of the Grand Line, is a closed country that never welcomes outsiders, does not join the world government, and even marine ships cannot enter. At the same time, it is also the location of the Beast's pirates led by the great pirate Kaido. Residents of this country wear special clothes called kimonos, communicate with others in a more traditional tone, and call powerful swordsmen samurai. The top leader of Wano-kuni is called shogun, and the top leader of the region is called daimyo. The entire country is very closed, with only Zou as an ally. The fur tribe of Zou established a firm alliance with the Kazuki family of the ruler of Wano-kuni hundreds of years ago, and they are considered brothers. The current general is Kurozumi, an ally of Kaido who is conducting a series of black market arms transactions. Because Wano Kuni is a closed country, it has some technologies that are not available overseas. Sea stones that are spread all over the world were born in this country, but the forging technology is unique to the Wano Kuni people. The citizens of this country generally have strong physical fitness and also use haki. The armed haki is called emission there. Regarding Kaido's Beasts Pirates, it has 3 major boards. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. This is roughly the 197 pieces of information. From the current point of view, there is not much information that can be extracted. These should be most of the information that can be learned so far, Lord Ivan. Well done. After hearing what the girl in front of him had concluded, Ivan smiled and put his hand on her little head, stroking it gently. And the other party's originally slightly serious face soon showed a look of happiness. Although it took a week to collect part of the information, there was actually not much useful information. Therefore, she was originally worried that she would be scolded by Lord Ivan. But fortunately, Lord Ivan was not angry and instead praised her. Collecting to this level is actually enough. The main thing is to get rid of the strongest friend in combat forces. The rest are mostly 3-legged cats anyway. 11. Of course, Ivan didn't have many requirements for her. In fact, these were things he probably knew before, and he knew more. Wano Kuni is a country that has been closed off for many years. It did not start closing down 20 years ago. It is also extremely conservative internally and unwilling to open up to the outside world. Even if it is world conquest, the understanding of it, CECG, is actually not very much. Lord Ivan, that beast's pirates seems to be very powerful. Should we take Marine with us? But Robin still has some doubts. Now, she has read a lot of books, and combined with various newspapers and news, there are reports on some powerful people in the major pirate groups, and she has a general understanding. The Beast's Pirates are probably the most powerful pirate group besides the Whitebeard Pirates. Moreover, the Whitebeard Pirates themselves may not have many ideas of competition, so in recent years they have only been protecting their territory and stabilizing their surrounding areas, and have no intention of taking the opportunity to expand. Kaido of the 100 Beasts is different. He has expanded his territory wantonly in recent years, especially in the past few years, after entering Wano Kuni completely included Wano Kuni as his subordinate. Due to its strong strength, even if it means conquering the world, there is no extra power to manage it. Robin was worried that it would be really dangerous for them to go there by themselves. What are you going to do with those losers? I don't think it's necessary. If it's all at that level, we can easily solve it ourselves. But before Ivan could speak, Albedo and Acides on the side had already complained and denied it, which made her a little embarrassed. But even she couldn't deny their claims. Because these two people have fought against Marine's high-end combat power, to be honest, for them, it's simply a bit vulnerable. But if they were alone, wouldn't it be dangerous if something unexpected happened? Advertisement. Although, she doesn't want those Marines on her feet. The fact that Saul was imprisoned and the fact that they directly attacked the refuge ship made her not have a good impression of Marine now. Of course, she visits Saul every month. Although he is locked up now, he is not in good spirits and he also receives some special care inside. Well, in a positive sense, after all, Master Ivan has taken special care of him, so his body still looks so strong. Seems to be a little fatter. But no matter what, the life inside was actually much better than she initially imagined. Marine still has to be called, otherwise, they won't know our identities. This time we are going to recruit, not just to grab things. Of course, Ivan still explained with a smile, and then the two of them gave up this idea. There is no way. People are closed to the outside world, how can they know what kind of heavenly dragon king you are? Only by sending marine warships out can he reveal his identity. TCH, since that's the case, there's nothing we can do about it. I just hope those losers won't get in the way. Albedo snorted disdainfully and continued to mock. She has not forgotten the unreasonable things that the Marines wanted to do to Lord Ivan. If they dare to cause trouble this time, they will definitely not be spared lightly. Okay, don't think they are so incompetent. Marine still has many masters, what happened to you? Fragrant. Ivan also smiled and comforted Albedo, but at this time, he noticed that she on the side had not spoken, and there was an obviously worried look on his face. You know, this week, she has been looking forward to returning to Wano Kuni as soon as possible every day. Talking about mission and destiny all day long, it seems that I have been waiting for it for a long time. But why are you hesitating now? But at this time, I tried to open my mouth, but felt a little hesitant. Miss She must be worried that if a large army is sent into Wano Kuni, many people may be hurt, right? Yes, if the army invades, the people of Wano Kuni will definitely not be able to completely avoid it. At this time, Kanae and Shinobu on the side also explained while kicking softly. After she heard this, he couldn't help but tremble slightly, and then nodded. Because their appearance was surprisingly similar to their previous living habits, the three of them had a pretty good relationship and talked about a lot of things. At the same time, the excitement at the beginning gradually turned into worry. After all, the two sisters have more experience and are much clearer in this regard. Don't worry, what we are going to do is not to invade your hometown, but to protect your hometown and not do any unnecessary things. Anyway, you are going with us. You will know if you see it with your own eyes. What exactly are we going to do? Yes, I hope my hometown can be a little more peaceful. After all, we are heading to Wano-kuni today. 96 Don't follow the trash, it's embarrassing, please subscribe. Advertisement. We have already sent a notice to Wano-kuni, and they also rejected it. It has been expected for a long time. If they are willing to let Marines warships enter, it is not Wano-kuni. The key is that you have already notified us. Are all your people here this time? Quote. Yes, the Heavenly Dragon King is all here, and these are the only ones here for the time being. After hearing the words of the young man in front of him, Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, also responded silently, looking very calm. But his hands were slightly clenched into fists. As for the Marines standing in more than 10 neat rows in front, many of them had obvious dissatisfaction on their faces. When they heard from the Marshal that they were going to attack and liberate Wano-kuni, their first reaction was to be stunned. And the second reaction was, of course, extreme excitement. Wano-kuni is a country that has many masters, but it has never listened to the words of world conquest, and has always excluded outsiders and put on a high profile. They've long wanted to teach Wano-kuni a lesson. And the most important thing is, the pirate Kaido is also in it. The most exaggerated invasion and expansion in the New World right now is Kaido and Big Mom. One is Wano-kuni, and the other is Wangwo, which gives them both a headache. In comparison, although Whitebeard's side is the strongest, it is also relatively stable. If Wano-kuni's problem can really be solved this time, it will really save a lot of trouble in the future. Justice may really come. Of course, the biggest problem is that their combat effectiveness here is obviously insufficient. There are only 6 or 7 vice admirals in total, as well as some officers at the rank of captain, plus several thousand ordinary sailors. With such fighting power, let alone fighting against the entire beast's pirates, even if they went to fight against Wano-kuni's samurai, they would be brought back in one fell swoop. But since the marshal said so, there must be a secret weapon. So in the past few days after receiving the news that they were going to attack, they had been very excited, thinking about doing something big. But what's the result? Now all of them actually want to listen to the orders of this so-called new Dragon King. What a joke. After all, they are still the elite of Marine headquarters. But if it is to play with this Dragon King, then it would be too much to treat them as child's play. Even if I heard that he was a kind-hearted king, that was only in terms of politics and had no idea of his combat effectiveness. Of course, this is just what some people think. Among the Marines present, there were many who had participated in the Buster Call last time. Therefore, when they saw this figure, they all couldn't help but stand in awe and stood upright, for fear of being seen to be nervous. Unexpectedly, this celestial dragons, who seemed a bit unique before, actually became the king of celestial dragons during this period. He must want to make sweeping reforms. Regarding the changes in celestial dragons, they have already heard some news. Being at the Marine headquarters, they naturally heard more about these things. This Heavenly Dragon King once easily suppressed 5 powerful vice admirals by himself, and released the kind of power that seemed to destroy the world, and his strength was definitely comparable to or even surpassed that of the admirals. If he said he wanted to truly conquer Wano-kuni, then it must be true. So now, every one of them is as if they have been given a shot of chicken blood, raising their heads and chests with all their might, trying to express themselves. Okay, just from the looks of it, it seems to be pretty good, that's all. It's a little better than Buster Call. Advertisement. Ivan looked at the group of Marines with different expressions in front of him and nodded silently. Well, in fact, he himself didn't even bother to come to the Marine headquarters. If he could, he would just drive a ship there and transport the stone tablet back. As for Onagashima's little combat power, he didn't even need to take action himself. However, things don't have to be settled. If you go to just a few people, they won't take you seriously. XN. Of course, as soon as these words came out, many Marines present, including Sengoku, couldn't help but complain. What do you mean it's slightly stronger than Buster Call? Is Buster Call weak? But when it comes to Buster Call, the expressions of many Marines who have never experienced it before become a little subtle. Quote. Marshal Sengoku, we are going to negotiate with Wano-kuni, not for fun. Is it really appropriate to bring this heavenly dragon king with us? A purple-haired young man with a serious look on his face but a mohawk on his head said coldly, obviously not wanting to give Ivan face. Nicknamed Flying Squirrel, he is 26 years old and has become a vice admiral. In the eyes of others, holding a high position at this age obviously requires considerable talent and hard work, and he himself believes so. But identity comes second. What he insists on is upholding Marine's justice. If it was just to eliminate the pirates, then he would have no hesitation. But if he just accompanies the so-called Dragon King to make trouble, he really doesn't want to waste time and risk the lives of himself and his subordinates. You know, the other party is not a good person who will just let you go if you surrender. Quote. This is an order directly issued by the 5 elders from above. It is said that the Dragon King will personally lead the team to solve our hidden dangers, so there is no room for evasion. Sengoku was naturally a little depressed, and felt that this time it was indeed a bit of a joke, too sudden. 0. After only a week of preparation, he directly said that he was going to deal with Kaido and Wano-kuni. No one would believe it. But he knew the inside story of the last Buster call. Sakazuki and Kuzan combined couldn't do anything against the Heavenly Dragon King, not even his female castaways. This is definitely not a joke. But this time we XN. But just when the flying squirrel was about to refute again, a biting cold feeling came to him instantly, making his whole body feel frozen, as if the whole person fell into an ice cellar instantly. It was not just him who felt the same, but everyone present. Some soldiers even rolled their eyes when they felt this sense of oppression, and then fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth, and fainted. Is this Conqueror's haki? Who is it? I didn't expect that after just a little test, so many wastes fell to the ground, which is embarrassing. If you still have opinions about the rest, you can continue to try. It's him. Everyone present looked at the handsome young man in front of him with a calm face in shock. Just now, I couldn't feel any breath from him, but now, everyone can feel that a huge momentum is coming out of him, which is difficult to resist. So strong. These celestial dragons, are they so fishy? Mouth. 97 The Celestial Dragon King's Expedition, Wano-kuni. Please subscribe. Advertisement. This feeling of oppression is still the same as last time. I didn't expect that even Conqueror's haki has it, and it's so strong. Last time. You mean the Buster Call time? Yes. The last time we fought at sea, I felt this sense of oppression. That's right. Sakazuki Vice Admiral was injured like this last time. Did Sakazuki Vice Admiral lose his ears? I didn't say it. Don't say what I said. Don't hide it. We all know how he could have an accident. The Marines present couldn't help but started talking at this time. The 747 was still relatively quiet at first, but as we got to the back, the sound became noisier and the words became louder. I have to say that this shock made the sailors just now feel a little dumbfounded. The more experienced and stronger veterans also began to popularize science to others. Let them know exactly what happened. But the blow just now really shocked the Marines, including Sengoku. Immediately, about 20% of Marines completely fainted and were frothing at the mouth. You know, these are the elites of the Marine headquarters, and their strength has a certain foundation. They can be stunned by so many. And more importantly, judging from Ivan's attitude, I'm afraid he was lenient just now. These people don't really think that we need their power, do they? It's just a name. Do you really think you are some kind of master? At this time, 2 voices emerged from Ivan's side, causing the Marines present to react from their original shock, and then glared at each other. But when they felt the same powerful sense of oppression coming from these 2 beautiful women, and the girls around them also showed the same powerful aura, they couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. Are these women also masters? Of course, in the eyes of insiders, they are more than just masters. Many people still remember the last time they personally attacked Sakazuki and Kuzan, and almost crushed them. And another one cut off Celestial Dragon's legs with his own hands, and also produced a large amount of ice cubes, completely freezing the ship. Many people still know about this matter. I feel like this woman's strength is at least as good as Kuzan Vice Admiral. Advertisement. If these women all have a strength that is close to or even equal to, I dare not guess anymore, Admiral, then the chances of winning this time will be much greater. Well, this is their purpose. If they were obedient, they would not bother to teach these people a lesson, there was no need at all. But these people are dishonest and have no vision. They have to be frightened before they know how to be afraid. Naturally, this is all they can do. Of course, this is actually normal. If it were them, if there was an inexplicable organization ordering them to do something, they wouldn't be happy. Of course, if it was Ivan's decision, they wouldn't have any complaints. Then, if you don't have any objections, let's set sail. I'm too lazy to wait any longer. At this time, Ivan said something lightly, then passed directly through the array, and then walked up to the battleship at the rear, leaving behind the group of Marines who were still talking or looking ugly and silent. They. Ahem. Everyone, let's go up. Anyway, this is what they asked for. There is no need to think about too many things. Just take care of yourself and don't take too many risks. We will handle the rest here. Seeing their appearance, Sengoku coughed lightly at this time, and then said calmly, turned around and walked out, probably calling someone to wake them up. The people present also slowly reacted, and then began to turn around with some confusion, and boarded the ship sparsely. However, there were some soldiers who were willing to take the initiative to board the ship where Ivan and the others were. Of course, these are people who know what he did last time. They knew very well that this Tianlong king was definitely not a second-generation ancestor who only knew how to rely on his subordinates to do things. If you follow him, you can indeed see something. The flying squirrel vice admiral, who had a slight conflict with Ivan before, slowly walked onto Ivan's ship. It's not that he was impressed or anything, he just wanted to see it with his own eyes. What kind of person is this so-called Dragon King? The performance is really different from those of celestial dragons. What exactly does he want to do? Take your time and watch. Hopefully, he himself, a marine, can help someone who really makes a difference. What a joke. Why did World Conquer come to us directly on 5.5? Oh, are you scared? It's just here to fool people. Now most of Marine's power is scattered all over the world and New World. In other areas, how much power can he bring here? I guess the most is the so-called Dragon King, must be trying to show off. Hee, I don't know what this kid has been through, but he can be so arrogant. It's really ridiculous. But, I heard that he seems to have some strength. Have you seen it with your own eyes? I don't believe that a kid in his early 20s with no hair on his head can deal with my beasts. If he has the ability, let him do it. 98 Frozen Waterfall. Blow up Uzumaki. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Time passed little by little, and several days had passed before I knew it. But for the Marines who were heading to Wano-kuni, this time seemed to be both long and passed quickly. They are about to face one of the most powerful pirate groups, and there may also be Wano-kuni's powerful samurai. They also understand that relying on their own human strength alone, they will die. But this time, with this heavenly Dragon King, conquering in person, they were now full of confidence. This kind of confidence does not appear out of nowhere. If they hadn't seen him before, they would have scorned him. After all, they have seen a lot of celestial dragons. They are just a bunch of scum who act recklessly just because of their status. And even if this heavenly Dragon King is slightly different, what can he accomplish by himself and these beautiful girls? But actually, it can. During this period, they have encountered many things beyond their imagination. The front is about to enter the waterfall area of Wano-kuni. But at this moment, the familiar voice of a communications soldier began to ring on the broadcasts on each ship. And in front, everyone also saw a huge waterfall, towering into the sky. That was the rumored Wano-kuni. In fact, it doesn't mean that world conquest really doesn't care about this country at all. However, this waterfall is really impossible to climb using normal methods. How are they going to get up now? With the size of their marine battleship, it seems too difficult to pass through this huge waterfall. But all of them were looking at a ship at this time. To be precise, he looked at the man standing on the bow of the ship, including several vice admirals. In these days, they have become accustomed to this kind of thing, and he seems to be able to solve everything. But this time, there should be nothing we can do. It's almost time to move, Aokiji, let's do it. I see, Master really likes to order others. But at this time, Ivan silently spoke to Aokiji beside him. And Aokiji, who had been sitting with her legs crossed, like a real queen, also smiled, then easily jumped to the bow of the boat, and then jumped off gently. Ice ladder. Of course, I wasn't going to take a bath. Just before it hit the sea, the waterfall was suddenly frozen by a large amount of ice, and then, a straight line of freezing energy began to freeze upwards. And then, various ladders started to appear, starting from the outside and going up. Does this mean for all of them to climb up directly? Can you come up quickly? I don't want to keep it up and cause trouble. I know, let's go down together and leave the boat here. Advertisement. After hearing these words, everyone hurriedly started to go down, and at this time they also discovered that even the sea around the boat had been blocked by ice. Are you planning on icing all the way to Wano-kuni? After thinking of this possibility, everyone couldn't help but look at the blue-haired queen who was sitting silently on the ice steps they made, with her legs crossed and then swallowed subconsciously. I don't know who is stronger, her ice or Kuzan Vice Admiral's ice. If it were Kuzan Vice Admiral, could he do such horrific things? With this thought in mind, everyone began to slowly climb up under the ice waterfall. They were a little nervous at first, fearing that the ladder was not strong enough. What I didn't expect was that it was surprisingly strong when stepped on, with no possibility of breaking. After climbing a certain distance, everyone also discovered that there were actually some huge fish frozen in the waterfall. How strong is this ice? Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone climbs up bit by bit. The stronger marine immediately used moonwalk to jump up. And Ivan himself flew up out of thin air, and then disappeared at the top in the blink of an eye. Alas, the gap in strength is too big. These days, they have seen many such situations. For example, if there was a thunderstorm, if Ivan moved his hand casually, the clouds above would dissipate in an instant, and it would only rain nearby, but it didn't hit them at all. And if the sea encounters strong winds and waves, seeds will directly freeze the roads on both sides, allowing them to move forward quickly. It was originally expected to take more than 10 days to arrive, but it arrived in 4 days. I have to say, the speed is really impressive. Of course, the situation is the same now. I didn't expect that it would freeze all the way. It can only be said that the thoughts of strong people are indeed different from ordinary people. No wonder they have the confidence to come and solve the problem. Everyone was thinking this, and then slowly climbed up. Time passed little by little, and before you knew it, everyone climbed to the top, and the view suddenly broadened by 920 degrees. Not far ahead, there is an island with tall buildings, various bright flowers, trees and rocks. But along the way, there are many hills and reefs, and even many large uzumaki. It's a really troublesome road. Fortunately, Lord Ivan had already expected it. But this time, it was not Seeds who spoke, but Albedo. She quietly unfolded the pair of black wings behind her, and then flew into the air in front of her. Then she condensed several black energy balls, and then threw them into the center of the Uzumaki, slowly sinking into them. Then, it exploded. Uzumaki was blown up instantly. But in contrast, a turbulent wave erupted from the sea, like a tsunami, gushing towards the people standing at the entrance of the waterfall. The Marines were so frightened that they couldn't help but open their mouths and subconsciously got nervous. TCH, don't make such a big noise, I'm too lazy to use it too much. But before they had time to shout, the huge waves in front of them froze again. And the frozen road under their feet began to slowly spread forward, enough for thousands of them to start moving forward at 10 o'clock. It feels like this time is really not in vain. 99 straight to the flower capital, the big snake escapes. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Wano-kuni, the capital of flowers, is where the general's palace is located. Oh Orochi-sama, it's not good. What are you doing in such a hurry? How do you behave? This is my Orochi general's mansion. Speak to me. Seeing that the servant in front of him was so panicked, he barged in without even saying hello. Kurozumi, the contemporary general Wano-kuni, also showed dissatisfaction at this time. Not long ago, he negotiated a big deal with his ally Kaido. Countless weapons will begin to circulate. He made money, and he expanded his territory and brought more good things. It was mutually beneficial. Everyone has a bright future. Just a few days ago, an announcement came from World Conquest. He said that he was coming to negotiate with Wano-kuni, open the country, and let Wano-kuni become the king of the participating countries to conquer the world. What a joke. They can just dream this kind of dream themselves, why should they let themselves listen to them? I don't know how good my business is doing now, and my life is full of joy, so why should I negotiate with them? Only the so-called newly appointed Dragon King could be so naive. He actually said that he would come in person to completely liberate Wano-kuni and so on. When the news came out, it unexpectedly spread throughout Wano-kuni. They say that someone has finally come to conquer the world, and he is a super big shot. The world is really going to be peaceful or something. Ah, do you stupid people really think that world conquest can help them? So he didn't pay much attention to the spread of these news. Anyway, in a few days, no one would come there, and the rumors would be self-defeating. After all, they have to find a special way to enter the country. It is absolutely impossible for those large warships to conquer the world and come up to the waterfall. If it's a small boat or an individual coming in, it's okay, his army is still waiting. Guhehehe. This time, it can make the people's hearts broken again and despair again. Yes, I'm sorry, Orochi-sama, but this time it's really urgent. Someone from the World Conqueror side is coming. Quote. Whore, someone really dares to come. Is that Dragon King here? Yes, he is the leader. It seems that he is really brave. He actually dared to come directly to my place. Where is he? When he heard this, even the big snake was a little surprised. You know, even he has heard of celestial dragons, creatures that only know pleasure. The way I live now, to a certain extent, I also want to experience the life of a celestial dragons. I just didn't expect that the so-called heavenly dragon king actually came in person. Being able to come up here shows that he is indeed quite capable. Of course, killing him would definitely not be possible. This kind of person may not have much ability, but his identity is still extremely important. If he really offends the world conqueror, it will still be quite troublesome. Advertisement. Even he had to weigh the anger of world conquest. If we really kill this guy, we will definitely get all the marine troops back and attack together. Honestly, to put it bluntly, even if they were to be cruel and blow up the mountain below them with cannonballs, it would not be impossible for the whole mountain to fall. Of course, I won't give him too much face. They have already come to your door. If you don't be tougher, you won't have the right to speak proactively in the future. So after giving him a little lesson, I can almost tell him to go back, without even calling Kaido, let him rest on the Onigashima side. They are almost reaching the flower capital now. I've already told you why you're so nervous. There are only a few people here, and they're all so flustered. Isn't it just a few small boats at most? How many people can fit in them? Several, thousands of people. They are all Marines, and everyone seems to be so powerful. They are all Marine elites. What? How did they get up here? How is this possible? With their huge warships, it is absolutely impossible to get on. I don't know, but everything on the sea where they came turned into ice, so they may have walked all the way up. Deserve to die. How could such a thing happen? He knew very well how fast the water in the waterfall was, and there was also Uzumaki on the way. Wrong. There is no use thinking about this now. Go and call Kaido quickly. Go quickly. Yes. Damn it. They are all a bunch of useless trash. Who is that heavenly dragon king? No, if it is really possible to come up through the frozen road. Then, after that, Wano Kuni's natural protective barrier will no longer be so safe. Damn it. If that's the case remarkable, then it's too unsafe to stay here by yourself. Anyway, we'll hide first. Report. We have searched everything and found no trace of General Orochi. You can really run. It doesn't matter. Just occupy the space first and then search slowly. There will always be someone willing to come out and solve the problem. After listening to the report of the man in front of him who saluted him and wore a marine officer's cape, Ivan, who was sitting on the armchair, also crossed his legs, and then glanced at the scene below. Long live world conquest. Finally, we drove away that evil general. Very good. Alas, how could the people be so stupid? Laozi is not here to help you with things. Advertisement 100 Kaido, hurry up and deliver it. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Long live world conquest. I didn't expect that such a day would actually happen. It's really great. Will world conquest really come? I really thought they gave up here completely. It seems that this Tianlong king is still a man of his word. I just don't know what they are going to do here. Could they just be interested in our forging technology? It doesn't matter. As long as we can drive that general away, no matter what we do, it will be worth it. Today is definitely an unforgettable day for the people of Wano Kuni. This country has always been closed to the outside world, and its culture is very conservative and independent. Therefore, even now, they actually have no particular favorable impression of the so-called world conquest from the outside world. But not long ago, when they saw this large army of thousands of people walking all the way from the sea, the people on their side were completely stunned. But then, there was uncontrollable ecstasy. They actually came. Some time ago, World Conquest sent a notice, saying that it would open the country to Wano Kuni. Of course, it was not by violent means, but it was hoped that 433 Wano Kuni could join the allies of World Conquest and change the current closed status quo. The reason is not clear, but it should be related to the newly promoted Dragon King, because he seems to be planning to come in person. I originally thought it was just an exaggerated description, but now it's actually true. If it was a few years ago, maybe if the world was conquered, they would be very repulsive. After all, why should outsiders interfere with their own affairs? But now, they are eager for the conquerors of the world to take care of it. There is no way. Wano Kuni is too chaotic now. Kurozumi Orochi had taken over the position of shogun before, how much they hated this man. And when His Highness Oden came back, they were extremely excited. But unexpectedly, His Highness Oden actually recognized Orochi's status, and he danced naked under General Orochi's house every week. All the original hopes turned into a dream. At first, I thought he might have been coerced or possessed by something strange. But it was like this day after day, and everyone lost confidence in him. There is no way. How can a person who is drunk and doing crazy things all day long be trustworthy? Therefore, when they heard the news about the coming people to conquer the world a few days ago, they were really excited and scared. They are afraid that the world will be conquered just for their technology. If this is the case, maybe they just want to negotiate business with the general. In that case, they will be in trouble. Please be sure to remove the current general. Just let me out. I don't want to stay in this place ruled by that kind of general. Can we elect a new general ourselves? Therefore, they must now inform the world of their purpose of conquest. No matter what, now that the big snake has escaped, this is their only chance. We understand. Please don't be so excited. The Heavenly Dragon King is inside to understand the situation and will try his best to give you a satisfactory answer. I'm not trying my best, I'm asking you to do it. If you don't want it, this country will be doomed. Yes, I really beg you. Advertisement. XN. It seems that the situation is really critical. Looking at these warriors, each of them had a look of eagerness and sincerity on their faces. The Marines who were now blocking the general's mansion couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. They just came directly from the sea. I have to say, Mrs. Seeds is really terrifyingly strong, everyone was so frozen along the way, and the range and intensity were so exaggerated. Moreover, she didn't seem tired at all, and Kikihara seemed to be quite bored. It can only be said that the gap between people is really too big. And now, the people of Wano-kuni began to rush out. Guri, Tuin, Nozomi, Flower City, Suzuo, Bai-Wu. Except for the most mysterious, Ghost Island, it seems that most people in the remaining areas already know about this matter and are rushing here in a hurry. This is not about coming for reinforcements or a trap or anything like that. But I really hate this general now. When they came over at first, there were some city guards blocking them, but Miss Albedo and Mrs. Seeds took action directly and got rid of those people. Then continue forward and negotiate directly with the general. To be honest, it seems that there is no meaning of negotiation. But along the way, they had no intention of stopping, and the journey was smooth. But when they arrived at the general's mansion, they found that the other party had actually escaped. What kind of general is this? The Marines, who originally thought there would be a big battle, felt a little depressed in their hearts. After all, I heard that everyone in Wano-kuni is extremely xenophobic, so they are also worried about fighting the local residents. As a result, after discovering that the general had escaped, the people were very excited and rushed to spread the news, and they all rushed to the flower capital. How annoying is this general? It seems that their coming to liberate this place is not a bad thing. It's a bit confusing that the current Heavenly Dragon King actually chose to stay directly in the Shogun's mansion instead of chasing the Kurozumi Orochi. You know, even if you occupy this place now, it actually doesn't make much sense. As long as they are still there, they can come back at any time. They can't decide everything about this country on their own, right? It is very important to justify the name, and not allow outsiders to leave any excuse for world conquest. However, Tianlong King seems to be very calm now, not panicking at all, everything is waiting quietly. Of course, there may be reasons. The most troublesome place is on Ghost Island itself. Kaido's beasts pirates are still here. But they are not too worried now. For some reason, they now really have a sense of blind trust in this Heavenly Dragon King. It feels like this person can do anything. They are really looking forward to Kaido coming soon. 101 million rupees she's girlish heart, a Nin-san comes. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Tisk. At such a critical moment, even the general ran away. No wonder he needs us to rescue him. He is so bad. After looking up at the ridiculous and exaggerated photo above, she's delicate face couldn't help but show some anger. I finally arrived at my long-awaited hometown. I was full of expectations, but I ended up seeing a scene like this. The most important general's mansion in the entire hometown became an empty space when they arrived. As a general, Kurozumi Orochi actually ran away. What kind of words does this sound like? It's better to run away, so as not to have to continue to reason with him. I guess he himself knows that he is not very good at looking at people. However, Ivan on the side did not pay attention. Instead, he crossed his legs and seemed to have a casual and relaxed look on his face. There was no anger at all, nor the tension imagined by the Marines outside. Well, it's not that he is lazy, but that he has nothing to do now. Seeds, Albedo, Shinobu and Kanae are all outside now, searching for Orochi and taking out the resisting troops outside. If they really relied on themselves, it might be difficult to find out. But the people here know it very well. They remember very clearly whoever oppressed them. So several other townships have now quickly fallen into their hands, and the people who have suffered the most are the people who are usually the most oppressed. Of course, there are some who are unwilling. Some warriors feel that although they don't like Orochi, this is Wano-kuni's own business. No matter what, it must be resolved by Wano-kuni himself, and it is not the turn of world conquest to take care of it. Well, this is the kind of person who has not yet understood the situation clearly. When they came here this time, they did not negotiate peacefully with them. It could be said to be a forced settlement. Fortunately, Such people are actually in the minority, and most people have long been tired of the cruelty and outrageousness of the big snake. Moreover, the propaganda of world conquest does not mean to control them. As long as they can negotiate peacefully, then it will be up to them to choose who to be their generals. It was mainly because Orochi's own reputation was too low that he was so successful now. But Lord Ivan, is there really a suitable candidate for the next general? It seems that there is chaos now, and no one can take charge of things. But at this time, a young voice from the side also started to sound. Robin, who was browsing the books here just now, also came over and asked Ivan. Well, Robin wants to decipher the authenticity of historical texts, so naturally he has to bring her here. As for Hancock and the three sisters, here too. After all, he didn't take them with him every time he went out, which seemed a bit unjustifiable, and they were already quite resentful. So this time, Albedo, Acedes, and Shinobu each took one out. Of course, there is no need to worry that they will be held back. On the contrary, the three people's current skills are better than most of the people here. Therefore, the Marines who were dissatisfied because they saw their little ones coming were no longer able to speak at all. Because when they flew up before, the three little guys also came up directly on the moonwalk. Yes, my lord, if there really is no one who can succeed the next general, what should we do? We can't let that person continue to be the general, right? And when he heard this, he couldn't help but his face immediately turned ugly, and then he quickly and nervously went to Ivan's side and asked. Well, it was so close, the distance between his face and his face was only about 10 centimeters. I have to say that I really didn't pay much attention to this aspect and didn't realize the difference. So her previous skirt was really. Now after being reminded by Ivan, I have made it a little longer and added leggings, but the distance between me and the people I am close to is still somewhat uncontrolled, and I often put my body and face close to each other. It was so close that he couldn't help it. Advertisement. Of course, you still need to control it, for the sake of future plans. Don't worry, I have someone chosen, and he should be a pretty good candidate. Who is it, Lord? Seeing the stunning face in front of him that was completely pressed up to her face, less than 5 centimeters away from her face, Ivan finally couldn't help it, and then stretched out his hands to hug her slender waist, and leaned back. Both of them leaned on the back chairs. Well, this is force majeure for him. If he doesn't hug him, he will feel like he will fall, so it should be okay. Lord, I'm so sorry. I went too far. At this time, he finally noticed his situation and apologized quickly on his face. But unlike her previous pure and ignorant look, her face was filled with crimson at this time, and she looked obviously shy. Although she didn't pay attention, she still knew the difference between men and women, so when communicating with men, she would try her best to avoid touching any male body. But the Lord's words are naturally an exception, so she didn't notice this subconsciously just now, but accidentally, the whole person was posted. Dash 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 dot 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 dot. Really, if you take such initiative, what does the accountant think of you? While complaining in his heart, he quietly looked at Ivan and thought shyly. To be honest, when she heard about the new lord, she was very excited and wished she could go find him right there. However, since she has not yet become a king, she must still be more cautious. And after knowing his attitude towards slaves and how he directly abolished the slavery system after becoming the new king, she was completely conquered by this lord. You know, this kind of thing has not changed for hundreds of years, but he actually changed it as soon as he came up. Isn't such a great lord worth following? Of course, if he is interested in her, then he can ask for it. After all, he has so many lovely girls around him, so he shouldn't dislike her now, right? Haha, it's okay. I feel quite comfortable. I've earned it. After seeing her like this, Ivan no longer kept his distance as before, but directly expressed his thoughts. And this also made Shi's cheeks turn redder, but he couldn't help but show a little bit of happiness. Lord, he really means something to her. Who is it? But at this moment, she suddenly felt a familiar smell, and then she immediately pulled out the long sword from her waist and pointed it at the empty place above. Since you're here, how about coming out early to meet Miss Ninja? Ninja, quote dot dot dot. Did you know this a long time ago? But Ivan said calmly, and soon a cold girl's voice began to be heard from above, which made Robin beside him feel very nervous. In the sky where there were only beams, a layer of cloth suddenly appeared, and a beautiful figure was hiding on it. With a slight jump, her whole body fell to the ground as lightly as a cat. Sorry to bother you, I am a subordinate of General Orochi, named A Nin, and now I want to express my feelings to you on behalf of General Orochi. Time is really a butcher's knife. Looking at the beautiful girl in front of him with a well-proportioned and plump figure, a beautiful face, and the most beautiful brown twintails in the world, Ivan couldn't help but secretly underestimated it in his heart, and didn't even listen to the important information in her words. Went in. 102 Stupid Oden. Kaido appears. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Shinobu. The same name as Sister Shinobu. After hearing this title, the first impression of the two people on the side was not what she meant, but this familiar name. The pronunciation is the same as their families, Nin. Of course, what Ivan is more concerned about is another point. He really couldn't compare the beauty, figure, and temperament in front of him with the one in the future. Well, the ant who didn't even know how to describe it put it on the scale for comparison. Is there anyone with the same name as me? But if possible, could you please listen to my opinion about General Orochi first? The ninja girl named A Nin was also a little surprised, but her thoughts were not as distracted as theirs, but rather anxious. Orochi's opinion, 027, is that we can consider exchanging part of the forging technology, but we are not willing to open the country. Quote. Yes, that's what he said before he left. But when he heard Ivan's words, A Nin nodded silently and looked at him with complicated eyes. It was seen through. Before Orochi left, he left these words. Obviously, he was afraid and did not dare to compete head-on with the world conquest. The biggest possibility now is to find Kaido. Even if he had to exchange part of the forging technology, he would not be able to open the country to the outside world even if he was killed. Otherwise, how could he still dominate this place? Thinking of this situation, Aren couldn't help but bite his teeth. As a member of the imperial court, she still takes orders from the general's subordinates for the time being. Originally, she wanted to resist Orochi, but after all, Lord Oden has not taken action yet, and there is still a chance, so she has been waiting to see if there is a chance to talk to the Dragon King in private. But it seems that the Heavenly Dragon King has already noticed her. Then let him go. It doesn't matter to me who will be the general anyway, but it can't be so closed all the time. I can just find someone to live in the general for the moment. After all, I don't know if there is anyone who knows how to forge stone tablets and understand ancient writing. It would be better to completely open it up. Quote. In fact, the little girl has a very good general candidate. I hope you can consider it. That person's name is Kazuki Oden, and he is the son of the previous general. When he heard this, A Nin immediately seized the opportunity and recommended Oden's name. It can be seen that this Heavenly Dragon King is very dissatisfied with Orochi. If he doesn't take this opportunity to explain it, how long will it take? No, how can we let that person succeed? It's all that person's fault. But she on the side couldn't help it anymore and immediately retorted. What a joke. It was because of that man that Wano Kuni became what he is now. How could he be allowed to serve as a general? If he were allowed to come, he might be worse and more outrageous than the timid general he is now. Quote. No, I would like to hear her explanation. In fact, the candidate in my mind is also Kazuki Oden, so I want to know more about the situation. Yes, that's the case. Lord Tianlong King, you clearly understand everything. X3. Advertisement. However, a fool is not completely hopeless. At least there is hope now. Quote. X2. He personally selected someone like Orochi to be a general, and danced naked in front of everyone every week. How could a person like this be a general? It's just too stupid. It also made several people present couldn't help but feel their hearts sinking. There's nothing obvious, I'm just making a random guess. Why would a man who has experienced so many adventures do such a stupid thing? If you think about it with normal thinking, it's outrageous. However, just when Aren explained these words and the other two people were also a little moved, Ivan poured a basin of cold water on them again, leaving them confused. However, Ivan did not completely deny him. 0.9 In fact, not only did he fail to save people, but he harmed too many people. Can't refute. It looks like it's about to begin. However, after hearing Ivan's complaint as if it was a matter of course, and A Nin actually showing a look of surprise and understanding, and quickly nodding in response, little Robin and Toki couldn't help but stunned. Then he's not. It's just pure self-impression. But these words made the other two people, especially she, unable to bear it. It can be said that the fact that Wano Kuni got to this point has absolutely nothing to do with him. Really, if he was really that stupid, he wouldn't have been able to sail the pirate King Roger and Whitebeard's ship. As for his various weird behaviors, it is probably nothing more than threats to his family and friends, or threatening him with the lives of the people of Wano Kuni. Well, you don't have to think about it to know that this is the case. X2. But as a puppet, it's actually quite useful. All I can say is that although a fool is indeed a fool, from the perspective of the meaning of the word, it still has some effect, but it is just more stupid. But after hearing what Ivan said, they seemed to suddenly react. In fact, this kind of touching had no practical meaning. For a few people, the entire country continues to be toyed with. He clearly had the ability to save the country, but in the end, he failed to protect anything and instead destroyed himself and the country. That's it. It is destined to prove that he is not a qualified monarch, but an extremely stupid fool. Lord, how can this be done? That Kazuki Oden is simply a stupid and outrageous man. How can such a person be allowed to serve as a general? But at this time, Ivan said these words silently, causing a nin across from him to immediately show an expression of ecstasy. Yeah, that's it. His Highness Oden is here to save his ministers, and every time he dances, 100 people will be released. And Orochi promised that in 5 years, he will open the country and let everyone can go out. After they heard this explanation just now, they were actually moved in their hearts. It's really touching that a man can do this kind of thing for the country and the people. So, is this what it looks like? But at this time, a report from a sailor suddenly came outside the door. X2. Report. Kaido of the Beasts appears in the Flower City. Kurozumi Orochi is also with him. 103 Conquerors clash. Kaido was sent flying by one punch. Subscribe please. Advertisement. Who did you think he was? I didn't expect that even a boy could scare you like this. TCH. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many of them, I wouldn't have come to you. This group of people definitely came prepared, so you should be careful. Isn't it just a group of Marines? It's not like Lousy has never seen them before. How can they be different? He glanced at the short, middle-aged man with purple hair and buck teeth with some contempt. A huge man with long horns also silently looked at the tall building not far ahead and walked forward. He stood and ignored the Marines on both sides who looked nervous and were holding swords and guns. It's really different this time. The group of people were able to climb up directly from below, which means someone inside may have the ability to freeze, or have mastered the technology of freezing the sea. If it's the latter, it would be very bad. Quote. The purple-haired man retorted with a sinister look on his face. Although he is already over 324 meters tall, he is still much shorter than the tall man next to him who is over 67 meters tall. What's more, he has 3 heads and a body, which makes him look even smaller and ridiculous. However, in the eyes of the surrounding people and the sailors, there was no intention to laugh at him. If possible, they really hoped that they could catch him directly and then directly change the general. It would be too easy. But now after he escaped, he found Kaido as expected. Well, these two people are naturally Kurozumi, the snake who escaped just now, and Kaido of the 100 Beasts. Now the two of them have gathered together, and the famous pirates behind them are also here. There are 3 disasters and several cadre members. Everyone exudes a powerful aura, which really makes people feel a little frightened. The people who had been thinking about resisting before saw this scene, and their hearts became cold again. They had seen so many people come to conquer the world before, and the big snake suddenly ran away, so they were very excited for a moment, and they all thought they had won the final victory. But now, they realized that the enemy's power has not weakened at all. Stop. But at this time, when they were about to arrive in front of the general's mansion, a cold voice suddenly stopped them. Several Marine Vice Admirals were standing in the middle, looking at them indifferently, and the one who just spoke was the Flying Squirrel Vice Admiral who seemed to have some conflicts with Ivan before. But what shocked everyone was that the two sides actually reached a stalemate. A strong sense of oppression from 617 instantly occurred where the two came into contact, and then immediately shook the people around them away. They couldn't help but retreat, many of them. People even fainted immediately. Quote. We are not here specifically to fight with you. We just want to open up this country. It has nothing to do with you. However, if you beasts continue to fight against us, we will not give up. Who is this person? Why does he have such powerful conquerors? What? XN. The moment the voice fell, a figure appeared not far in front of the flying squirrel and said lightly. To be honest, everyone else is thinking about waiting for the people inside to come out. Otherwise, if they really fight like this, the chance of winning is too small. Those strong women are not here, and it is easy to accidentally hurt them. People around. From now on, this is my territory. But now he is standing at the door of the general's mansion, with the gate behind him. Advertisement. Hit it hard. Faced with this punch that seemed to destroy the world, the owner of this figure just stretched out his right hand, then moved his right foot back a little, and then suddenly blasted forward, following Kaido's fist. Touched. But at this moment, a voice suddenly came from the general's mansion. But the flying squirrel didn't take this into consideration, and even directly drew out the long sword from his waist, and then said provocatively. Compared to the other vice admirals who seemed a little nervous, the youngest flying squirrel continued to speak at this time. Are you too anxious to do this? Is it Marine's Vice Admiral? I didn't expect that lousy Kaido could only have someone like this to greet me. Or is there no one in Marine now? However, even when facing so many Marine Vice Admirals, Kaido naturally had no stage fright at all, and even felt that the other party underestimated him. Okay, I would like to see how you want to give up. This is my country. Ahem. But they all have absolute confidence in Kaido, so they will never. Not to mention Kaido and the others, even Marine himself felt that the flying squirrel was a little too excited. How could it be knocked away by a fist? With only this few manpower, why do you dare to come to him? The opponent is Kaido from 100 Beasts, known as the strongest creature. You know, he is now Wano Kuni's protector of the country, and to put it bluntly, he is actually bigger than the general. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and then his huge body instantly hit a building in the distance. The people from Beast's Pirates and the big snake not far behind could not help but think about it at this time. Judging from the absolute difference in size between the two sides, it is very likely that this figure would have been blown away by a fist, even if there were no bones left. Is this Conqueror's collision? But at the moment they were thinking about it, the muscles in Kaido's right hand suddenly seemed to have collapsed, becoming obviously distorted, the veins clearly bursting out, and even bleeding. Kaido also smiled evilly at this time, and then continued walking forward. The moment Kaido heard this voice, his pupils shrank immediately, and then he subconsciously released his aura and punched forward with a fist. The weather in the sky also began to change suddenly, thunderclouds flashed, and lightning and stone fire intertwined. It looks like he is guarding the door for the people inside. This is too scary, isn't it? Wano Kuni is actually his territory, why can't he? 104 I originally wanted to kill you with one move, please subscribe. Advertisement. Everyone present probably never dreamed that such a scene would happen before their eyes. Kaido, who is known as the strongest creature, and currently has the second highest bounty on the super pirate, 100 Beasts, was actually punched away by a seemingly skinny young man. So strong, so handsome. Long live the Dragon King. Is this the legendary Dragon King? So handsome, and so strong. I thought he was an old man, but didn't expect him to be so young. That's amazing. But what followed was an instant burst of ecstatic cheers from the people. OMG. How long have they been waiting? All this time, they have been waiting to see who is brave enough to defeat Kaido. If there was only one Kurozumi, how could they have been oppressed for so long? Their Wano Kuni folk customs are quite fierce, and there is always no shortage of masters. But the problem is that Kaido is too powerful. And his Beasts Pirates are also extraordinary. Although there are only more than 1,000 people in total at the moment, each of the 270 has strong combat effectiveness. Especially those 3 big signboards are extremely powerful. But now, the power of this fist suddenly swept away their previous gloom and became extremely excited. It turns out that this heavenly Dragon King is so powerful. The residents of Wano Kuni present could not help but show expressions of admiration, especially the young girls, who showed admiration. He is strong, handsome, young, and has an extremely high status. He also saved them in such a critical situation. How can he not be admired by others? The people of Wano Kuni are indeed very conservative. But they also worship heroism. If the performance of the current Tianlong King cannot be regarded as a hero, then what else can be regarded as a hero? In fact, it wasn't just them, the surrounding Marines couldn't help but cheer at this time. To be honest, they were quite worried just now. After all, in their opinion, Ivan's power is only secondary. The strongest ones should be those women, especially Miss Acedes. The scene of the frozen waterfall and the sea is really still fresh in my memory. But only Kaido himself, who has experienced it himself, knows that Ivan is not joking. It's just that some are happy and some are sad, so Kaido's subordinates naturally feel very bad at this time. If they were asked to rank in their hearts, they think Miss Acedes should be the strongest. It seemed that fist just now had indeed taught him a lesson. Advertisement. Boss. Kaido-sama, if your defense were a little weaker, you might actually be killed instantly. Well, yes, worship. Whenever there was a heavy rain, he would wave his hand directly in the direction of the sky, and then the clouds in the sky would disperse directly. It's just that the fist that the pair touched just now caused different doubts in their thoughts. At this time, Kaido did not directly take action again. Instead, he began to praise Ivan and acknowledge his strength. However, it can be seen that he is still injured to a certain extent. With a few more chapters at most, I will start the second volume. I will write it back carefully. Please support me. What got you so excited? This person can truly explain what celestial dragons is. At that moment, he really seemed to feel the breath of death. After observing Ivan's performance in the past few days, he has really begun to admire Ivan, and he can even be regarded as a little fanboy. Even the vice admirals couldn't help but clench their fists at this time, especially the flying squirrel, whose eyes could no longer contain the admiration. While walking, he suddenly spit out a mouthful of blood and threw it aside. Sure enough, Kaido walked out of the house after a while, and then slowly walked towards them. His eyes became more ferocious than before. Is it too exaggerated to want to kill Kaido instantly with one blow? Others may not know, but how could he, who was sitting on the same ship and also on the top deck, not see it? You are the rumored Heavenly Dragon King, right? I didn't expect you to be quite strong, much stronger than I thought. But at this moment, a cold voice suddenly appeared, causing everyone present to suddenly change their mood. It turns out that the strongest one is himself. Worry turned to cheers, and the cheers became silent and turned to worry. So they hurriedly ran over, wanting to check on their captain's injury, and they kept thinking about it. Isn't this ability to freely control the weather comparable to godlike? What an arrogant tone. It's not bad, but you are more resistant to beating than I thought. I originally wanted to kill you with just one move. Oh, XN. Quote. Who would have thought that his boss's fist would be punched back by someone in turn? And now after seeing him blow Kaido away with one fist, Flying Squirrel is even more sure of what he thought before. 105 I only want your stone tablet, please subscribe. Advertisement. Who? You are very confident. Do you think you can kill me with that level of attack just now? Kaido was not as reckless as he seemed. After hearing these words, he did not act angrily directly, but asked slightly provocatively. You can keep trying. Of course, Ivan also replied silently, and the two faced each other tit for tat, and they began to fight against each other again in terms of momentum. Even if they were just standing not far from the two of them, some people felt that their legs were a little weak, their heads were a little swollen, and they felt quite pressured. The confrontation between conquerors is not something that ordinary people can bear. Without certain endurance and mental quality, if it happens here, they will understand it very well. HMPH. This kind of battle is too boring. Let's wait until the serious matters are resolved before we talk about it. But at this moment, Kaido suddenly snorted, and then forcibly interrupted the momentum exchange between the two, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that they don't want to engage in such a pointless fight. But in fact, only the two parties involved know why it ended so quickly. Because Kaido was almost unable to hold on, just now. Conqueror's Haki's confrontation seems to have a lot of influence from the surroundings. But in fact, the biggest impact is naturally on the opponent. The people around him are just affected by the powerful aura. But just now Kaido felt an unprecedented sense of oppression, with everything being squeezed towards him from all directions and angles. Every cell in his body seemed to be oppressed and unable to breathe, as if he was about to be suffocated. So he could only forcefully break the confrontation and pretend that nothing was wrong. But now, his mouth is slightly open, wanting to take this opportunity to work hard to regain his strength. This Heavenly Dragon King is simply a monster. Under such a seemingly small body, there is actually such a powerful power. To put it bluntly, the whole group of people in my group may not be the opponent of this boy. Whatever, I have nothing to do with you anyway, as long as I don't get in the way. General Orochi, let's talk about the situation in this country. Whatever you want. Kaido, what do you mean? After listening to Ivan's words, Kaido actually nodded in agreement, which made everyone present stunned. And the most incredible thing is naturally the big snake himself. Who would have thought that his loyal ally would suddenly betray him at this moment? It's not interesting. Your own problems have nothing to do with us, beasts pirates. What? Quote. But at this time, Kaido turned against him faster than flipping through a book and refused to admit it at all. Are you afraid of world conquest? Lousy is not afraid, but why would Lousy get into trouble just to help you? You can just solve the problem yourself. It's none of Lousy's business. Facing the angry snake, Kaido didn't care at all, but just glanced away. In fact, he is also very keen. He knows the power of world conquest. If people with the identity of the other party are sent out, there must be more terrifying power. He doesn't want to just stop here. Moreover, this does not have much impact on him. Whether Wano Kuni is secluded from the country or not, it actually doesn't matter to him. The most he can do is make some weapons, and those manufacturing operations have long been under his management and bribed by him. Advertisement. I am only an ally with him in name only. If I change to another general, I can still do good business with him. No worries at all. But if you think about it carefully, how could someone actually come all the way here for something like technology? Quote. This is a strong man with flat hair and a burly build, but his eyes are very firm, staring at Ivan. Isn't this Wano Kuni just a bit skilled? I just live a small life here, just being the king of the mountain. Why do you want him, the leader of world conquest, to come here? Raftel, I know. But at this time, Ivan's words made everyone present a little confused. What is that? Most of the people present were confused. Is this necessary? Quote. Isn't that the island where One Piece is located? Where is the stone tablet? The big snake bit his buck teeth hard, and then asked Ivan excitedly. This part of the plot will be written soon. After getting the stone tablet back, it will almost jump to 10 years later. Please support the plot of the second volume. Please support me for a while. Then what do you want? Want to find it? Don't make me laugh, it's something that belongs to us. How can we find it? I just want to protect them better. So tell me. But Ivan's expression became more indifferent, and his eyes became colder. But at this moment, a voice suddenly appeared, and then came between Ivan and Kaido. But when they heard this, the people around them couldn't help being dumbfounded. But only Kaido's face suddenly became extremely ugly. I know where those stone tablets are. But Tianlong King, please save the imprisoned civilians and my ministers. Logically speaking, this should be what he wants, right? Kaido said coldly, his eyes full of fear and repressed emotions. After hearing Ivan's question, Orochi was dumbfounded and hurriedly wanted to deny it. The stone tablet of the historical text. Are you trying to find Raftel's location? 800 years ago, Wano Kuni carved the stone tablet with the text of history. I want to take it back. In fact, I don't really care about that kind of thing. It would be nice to have it, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know anything about stone tablets. If you don't come to Wano Kuni for this, why else? When he saw this person's face, the big snake's expression became extremely ugly, and an extremely bad thought came into his heart. Oden, you, damn it, Heavenly Dragon King, what do you want to do? Do you want our Wano Kuni's forging technology? If you want, I can share it with you. Even they themselves know that when they come into contact with the outside world, their biggest advantage is only this special forging skill. Advertisement 106. I have the final say in world government. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Is it His Highness Oden? Isn't this the idiot His Highness? He knows about that stone tablet. No, what did he say just now? Imprisoned ministers and civilians. What's going on? Could it be said that His Highness Oden has been acting like this all this time because he knew there were hostages? Oh my god, so strong. Orochi is really a scumbag. It has to be said that the scene that happened now made the crowd at the scene completely excited. All the original misunderstandings were completely resolved after such a sentence. Everyone present is not a fool, and they have all seen Oden with their own eyes before. The reason why they believed in this man so much before was because he had gradually transformed the chaotic Julie into a peaceful area, gathering all the gangsters and those who were not serious. Make them serious people. The original royal, 807, Tien really had an excellent reputation, a very cheerful personality, and valued love and righteousness. So when he returned, all of them expected him to drive away the big snake, but they were disappointed in him. But I didn't understand the reason at first, but now it's so clear. It turns out that this despicable method was used. That's right. His Highness Oden was previously coerced by the Orochi. The other party captured the 9 red scabbards and a group of civilians. They threatened His Highness Oden and said that as long as he danced naked once a week, he would release 100 civilians and promised after 5 years, build a big ship and send everyone out. But Orochi didn't admit it at all. What? That's true. Damn the big snake. Your Highness Oden, we wrongly blamed you. At this time, a nin who came out also shouted out, and everyone around him became more convinced, and glared at Orochi, or apologized directly to Oden. Oden couldn't help but froze for a moment, and his expression began to become a little complicated. He just took a big risk before speaking out. In fact, how could he not know that Orochi himself might be a person with no credibility? But there is no way, in order for them to survive, for the people of Wano Kuni, he must do this. Anyway, he is the only one who is embarrassed, it's good that they can be safe. It's not wrong. You are indeed a hopeless idiot. Quote. But at this time, Ivan suddenly said something, which made the people of Wano Kuni, including Oden, couldn't help being a little dumbfounded. Only a nin looked a little ugly. She knew what Ivan was going to say. But in the presence of so many people, do you still need to say it? Will this have a big impact on Lord Oden's reputation? But at this time, she on the side suddenly held her hand, and then shook his head slightly at her. Only then did a nin stop. Because of her firm eyes when she saw it, and she looked towards Ivan. Before, she had wanted to speak for Oden. After all, she herself was also a person who was easily moved. But what the Lord said before moved her. Some things cannot be achieved simply by being moved. You are obviously quite strong. Even if you face them, you are not necessarily incapable of fighting. But because of your kindness as a woman, you are completely passive. As long as you surrender, he will continue to weaken your strength and reduce your teammates. Even if you can be innocent one day, he may have already killed you, because the enemy will not give you a chance to make a comeback. Advertisement. After you die, your ministers will continue to be used and tortured by him, and then die slowly, or worse than death. Then what are you protecting? What you protect is just subconsciously you think it's just noble self-sacrifice. If you really want to protect them, at least try to save them secretly instead of falling like a clown. XN. I have to say that although someone's remarks are somewhat subjective, they are indeed reasonable. Some people wanted to speak for Oden, but when they tried to speak, they felt like they couldn't refute. If Oden can really unite everyone and directly forcibly defeat Kaido and Orochi, then why worry about not being able to save those people? Quote. Oden's face also became ugly, and he didn't know how to refute. In fact, he really didn't think about that many things. He just thought that as long as they obeyed, there would be no need for the big snake to harm them. But now that he thinks about it, it is indeed impossible for him to give up everything he has now. Guhehehe. It does make sense, Dragon King. But don't forget now, his ministers and thousands of hostages are under my control. Do you dare to conquer the world? At this time, Orochi shouted out arrogantly, with a proud look on his face, which made everyone around him fall into silence, and clenched his fists tightly but was helpless. It seems that he is relying on the fact that he has hostages, so he is not afraid of sanctions at all. 011205524 Philu 101,321,591. Boom. X. But at this moment, a muffled thunder suddenly struck out of thin air, hitting the big snake's head, causing his whole body to be dented into the ground. Is this a punishment from God? But it's too sudden, isn't it? Lousy told you, I don't care about the hostages at all. I'm not from Wano Kuni. It has nothing to do with me whether I die or not. Wait, aren't you the one who conquered the world? Why? I have the final say to conquer the world. Do I need to listen to you? Quote. This tone is so arrogant. Say this directly in front of all of them, even Marine. But why? When he said these words, they felt that they were so reasonable, and at this time, they wished they were like this. Precisely because he is not subject to world conquest, it doesn't matter even if he does something outrageous. Besides, your cards are useless. At this time, Ivan also said something silently, and then looked in a certain direction to the side. Everyone followed his gaze and couldn't help being stunned. Lord XN. Kanamon. Are you all out? Seeing these familiar subordinates all come out one by one, and followed by a large group of ragged people who looked like they had been working hard for a long time, but were now free, Oden and others couldn't help but reveal themselves. The color of ecstasy. Yes, these two ladies rescued us from 5.9. There's no need to thank us so much, it's actually my lord's intention. My lord guessed that someone was being imprisoned, so he asked us to rescue them secretly, but I just heard someone say that they don't care about the lives of the hostages. It seems a little different from what I heard before. Ahem. I just scolded him, so I will use more useful methods myself. Woo. I saw a certain heavenly dragon king who looked cold and cold before, but now he coughed slightly after being exposed by his subordinates. Everyone's expression started to look a little weird. You say it so coldly, it turns out you are also soft-hearted. I made a mistake before. It was not Kurozumi Higurashi pretending to be Oden who agreed to let Orochi become a general. He was pretending to be Oden's father, the former general. I actually got it all wrong. I am depressed that I have changed it now. There are 2 or 3 more Zhongzuo, it's time for the second volume, please support me. There will be a lot of interesting plots. 107 Ivan. I appoint you as the new General Wano Kuni, please subscribe. Advertisement. Damn. Why do you know those places? As long as I scare you a little, I can ask you right away, it's not that difficult. Shinobu, who had just returned, was not surprised by Orochi's shock, but responded with a relaxed smile. It's just that the faces of those following behind are a little weird. Although they were very grateful to her for saving them, when she took action just now, it was really a bit scary. Especially the poisons used make people's whole bodies start to rot and so on. It makes my scalp numb just looking at it. All the guards there surrendered at once, and all their shackles were removed. Of course, they are still very excited now. Lord, we really didn't expect that there would be a time when we could regain our freedom. I'm really grateful to my lord for saving my life, and also to Miss Shinobu and Miss Kanae. You're welcome, you should be. We are just following orders, but now is not the time to think about these things. Does Mr. Oden 24 have other things to do? Sorry, Orochi. Now I want to formally ask you to take back the position of general. Do you dare to accept my challenge? XN. After hearing what Shinobu said, Oden finally reacted, turned around, turned his back to the 9 retainers, then looked towards the Orochi in front of him, and made a bold statement. The surrounding Wano Kuni people also cheered and cheered. Obviously, the vast majority of people here definitely support Oden. But what none of them expected was that not far behind Oden, a red-haired, white-faced man dressed like a kabuki actor had a sinister expression on his face. Look. At first I felt that I was sure of everything, but suddenly such a heavenly dragon king appeared and confused everything. But now, even if you continue to hide it, it is no longer necessary. Therefore, he walked quietly behind Oden, and then his eyes met the big snake in front of him, and he nodded vaguely, with a cruel and ferocious look on his lips. The big snake also showed the same ferocious smile on his face. Quote. Okay, I will accept your challenge. I will count to 3, and we will do it. 3, 2. At the last moment of shouting, the big snake's smile became extremely ferocious. And Oden's face also showed an extremely serious expression, and he wanted to rush forward. What? How could Conqueror do that? The blood of the two people splattered out almost at the same time, and many women and children present screamed in fright. Many people are still immersed in excitement. After all, in their opinion, Lord Oden's strength must be far greater than that of Orochi, and there is no need to worry about victory or defeat at all. Is this the strength of the Dragon King? Advertisement. Afterwards, Orochi could no longer say anything. Impossible. But at this moment, he suddenly felt a cool air behind him. What's going on? But some people have already seen this scene, but it is too late to stop it. Yes. Have you forgotten how we have been together for so many years? 320 inches. HMPH. Now that the matter has come to this, I won't hide it anymore. My real name is Kurozumi Kanjuro. I am a member of Orochi-sama's family. Quote. I originally thought that this gentleman was just powerful, but now it seems that he is also very careful and smart. No one could believe this, but the facts were in front of them. It's not impossible. You are all a group of good players. It's not weird that you were captured together for no reason. Who else can know your whereabouts so clearly except for our own people? Of course, I just doubted it, but after seeing you were in the position just now, and you showed murderous intent for a moment, I also felt that something was wrong. Are you a subordinate of Orochi? 11. However, at the moment when the sword was about to be inserted into Oden's body, a figure appeared there instantly, and then gently grabbed the sword with 2 fingers with his bare hands, preventing it from moving forward at all. Orochi's men. This is too well hidden. KRXUR. The next chapter should be able to end the first volume. Support. Does anyone dare to say that they don't want to? A sharp long sword pierced his heart from behind. The speed was so fast and the change was so sudden that no one in the audience could react at this time. So I told you, if you don't want to be kind to women, you should also put bright spots on your eyes. But at this moment, he had no time to escape. Even if we cannot completely fulfill our wish and destroy Wano Kuni, we must at least completely destroy the bloodline of the Oden family. XN. At this time, the people around him finally reacted and stared at Conqueror. Because Ivan had already snatched Conqueror's sword directly, and then flicked it casually, looking at Conqueror's neck, and then threw it directly towards the big snake's mouth, directly penetrating his throat. Because not far behind him, Sudame Conqueror, who was originally one of his most trusted retainers, had already separated a section of his brush, and then revealed a sharp long sword. And he plunged into Oden's blind corner. Did Lord Tianlong King actually see through this? He's too strong. Guhehehe. That's right, Conqueror is my subordinate. After hiding for so many years, it's a pity that I don't have the bloodline to kill the Kazuki clan, so I can't take revenge. But this doesn't mean anything. I'm still Wano Kuni's general now. I'm real. What? XN. Did he betray? Hearing these words, everyone reacted again, and then began to glare at Conqueror. Of course, there was also a lot of admiration for Ivan. It's so noisy, disturbing my peace, it's nothing more than some bloody drama, Lousy doesn't want to hear it at all. Kazuki Oden, I now appoint you as the new Wano Kuni general, open the door to the country, and become one of the participating countries to conquer the world, are you willing? And he himself was completely dumbfounded, completely unable to believe that his move could actually be seen through. Conqueror, why did you betray me? 108 The Epic of the Dragon King. End of Volume 1. Next chapter. Future chapter. Advertisement. Well, Tianlong King, the appointment of our Wano Kuni requires. Stop blabbering, I don't like to hear nonsense. Anyway, your original intention is to open the country, right? It depends on whether the people are willing. I'll give you 1 minute to choose. You basically don't have time for people to think about it. After hearing these tough words, everyone couldn't help but complain secretly in their hearts. Of course, after seeing the resolute behavior of the Heavenly Dragon King just now, they did not dare to say anything at all. Lord Oden, just accept it. Yes, in fact, I have now seen the disadvantages of seclusion. It may easily lead to a dictator. I should listen to what you said before and get more in touch with the outside world. Yes, Yes, with Lord Oden leading us, we can definitely get better. Don't you blame me for the stupid things I did before. Seeing that everyone around him was smiling and looking at him, Oden was a little shaken, but he was not hesitant. To be honest, after hearing what the Heavenly Dragon King said, he really realized his stupidity. He clearly had weapons, but put them down, and instead allowed the other party to keep holding weapons to threaten them and hurt them. He was not a qualified leader at all. Would they still be willing to follow me like this? Of course. You are our best general. We believe you can get better. Yeah, XN. Quote. Then I'd rather be respectful than obey. Seeing how enthusiastic everyone was, Oden finally nodded and then shouted loudly, as did the people around him. Then Dragon King, I will do what I promised you, as well as the domestic forging skills. Those things are up to you. I never asked for it. Of course, if you want to increase cooperation with Marine, we are very welcome. Quote. Well, I understand what it means. Although the other party did not say it clearly, it was obvious that most of the famous swords in the world were made by Wano Kuni, and Marine was also very coveted for their forging technology. It is definitely impossible to teach it completely. But there is no problem in increasing export volume, replacing Marine shotguns with cannons, and getting more handy weapons. As for the stone monument, those are indeed things that have been passed down from ancient times to the present, but the past is the past after all, and the people of the present are the most important. Well, then the next step is to solve the problem here. Ivan also nodded, and then looked at Kaido, who had been silent, and the beast's pirates behind him. Do you want me to bring the remaining 2 pieces back with you? Although he only said this name once, this name was remembered by everyone present. There are many masters here, but since they have been suppressed and have no leader, they naturally dare not disobey. Advertisement. Quote. If you're afraid of death, just say so, but I'm too lazy to kill you here. Your stone tablet is also well preserved. I will get it one day sooner or later. Of course, this is just one of them, an insignificant part. It's okay, the time has not come yet, and it is still early to make the prediction. TCH. You are really annoying. What is your name? Heavenly Dragon King. When he completely conquers the world in the future, he will also stay in every corner of every country in the world. Kaido opened his eyes as big as copper bells and stared at Ivan, as if he wanted to watch him to death. Quote. Ivan Los Astoral. This boy is really arrogant when he talks. At this time, everyone in Wano Kuni also focused their attention, and their eyes began to become extremely fierce, and many people exuded a strong aura. Coupled with the presence of thousands of marine elites and the Dragon King, their morale is extremely high. Quote. You are really confident. Do you really think you can deal with me? Boy. XN. Moreover, there is really no need for me to fight this kid here. Even if I can really hold on, my subordinates may not be able to. Isn't it dangerous? In comparison, Kaido's momentum is naturally much weaker, but of course he himself will not show weakness. Humph, I'm too lazy to argue with you. Laozi originally wanted the stone tablet with the historical text, but since I asked you to take it away, let's forget it for now. This is written in his name, an unprecedented epic. De Jiao Jiao, this is the trace left by a great king who once visited here. Well, what do you think? The first volume is over. The plot of the second volume 10 years later, please support. But it's different now, they have a general. And he's a powerful and wise king like His Highness Oden, so of course he's not afraid. In fact, Orochi's strength is not weak. He was killed in just one encounter, and Haki's strength just now was even higher than he imagined. Can he block that kind of attack? And showing weakness now is actually no different from waiting to die. Fu, Godmother, I have brought the stone tablet back. Of course, Ivan was not afraid, but silently raised his head, looked at him quietly, and then said his name. No, it's okay. In the subsequent history of Wano Kuni, he has always been remembered in the history books. Well, thank you for your hard work. A good man will not suffer immediate losses, so if he loses some face, he will lose some face. His subordinates must save their lives first. But to be honest, Kaido is a little scared now. 10 years later, Shinobu is pregnant. Subscribe. Advertisement. On a spacious grassland, 3 beautiful girls were engaged in a dazzling battle. 2 beautiful figures, one green and one orange, suddenly transformed into a half-human, half-snake image like the mythical Medusa, and then used their hair and tail to carry out violent attacks. Different from the monster-like slender snake body, both of them have extremely beautiful looks. Their exquisite facial features, sharp fangs and windless hair, coupled with gorgeous cheongsam outfits, give people an extremely coquettish feeling. If you can fight with such a beautiful snake for a while, I'm afraid it will make people feel extremely subtle. However, the fighting power of these 2 is definitely not weak. One's hair was like a cannonball, suddenly blasting to the ground. Every touch would cause explosive damage, while the other was holding a machete in her hand that did not fit her slim image, and her movements were fast and sharp. Ruthless. However, compared to the woman in front of them, their strength was far from that. She has long, silky hair like a waterfall. She is also wearing a relatively slim and alluring cheongsam, and she has a figure that is no less impressive than the other two. She is definitely a stunning beauty that people can't help but sigh in admiration for after seeing her. It's just that her attacks are more severe than the other two. Although 670 was already standing in front of the two of them, when he hid, his movements were very relaxed, as if he had completely seen through their movements. And when their movements revealed a gap, the black-haired girl's eyes lit up, and then she instantly dodged and kicked them both at the same time, then fell to the ground, regaining her original slender figure. Body shape. The black-haired woman also breathed a sigh of relief, then smiled at the two women in front of her and said slightly teasingly. Sonia, Mary, your movements are still a bit too stiff, you have to work hard to change. Sister Sama, you moved too fast. Yes, your progress is much faster than before. But compared to the black-haired girl who still had some energy left, the other green-haired girl and the orange-haired girl were naturally full of complaints. Obviously their progress has been very obvious, and their strength has also improved a lot, but my sister herself is too exaggerated. Obviously everyone has the same training and teacher, why is her combat effectiveness the only one that has become so strong? So both of them couldn't help but curled their lips, pouting somewhat dissatisfiedly, looking very dissatisfied. But this appearance also gives people an unexpectedly subtle charm. Of course it's because of my love for Lord Ivan. The black-haired girl also stuck out her tongue playfully, then turned around brilliantly, gently falling into the arms of a man on the side, still letting the other man hold her slender waist in his arms. Lord Ivan, are you right? And she continued to ignore the dissatisfaction of the two people beside her, and took the initiative to put her hands around the handsome man's neck, and then asked with a charming look on her face. Okay, everything you said is right. The man being hugged also smiled helplessly, as if coaxing a child. However, the movements of his hands did not stop. Instead, he gently stroked the girl's slender waist up and down, causing a subtle look on the girl's face. It's not fair. We also love Lord Ivan. Yes, sister, you are so cunning, and our love for Ivan is no less than yours. Ah, you were all lying on the ground just now. You were so dirty. Don't come over here. But at this time, the two girls on the side couldn't help it anymore, and began to surround him with jealousy, and also took the initiative to get close to him without any intention of contacting the man. Naturally, the black-haired girl was also a little dissatisfied. You can imagine how enviable it is to be surrounded by three well-developed and beautiful cheongsam girls. But now the man's face showed a somewhat dumbfounded look. To be honest, he feels more like he is entangled by three snakes, and is unable to move. Advertisement. Of course, at this time, he will not remain passive. He smiled and spread his hands, then hugged all three of them, and Min got closer. Okay, there's nothing to argue about. All three of you are my babies. No matter what, I love you all. X3. When the three girls saw this, they also blushed and nodded shyly, but they still buried their faces in his arms with happiness on their faces, looking very peaceful. Allah Allah, everyone is really friendly, I seem to have forgotten that we were training just now. X3. But at this time, after hearing a gentle voice from the side, the three of them suddenly seemed to be electrocuted. They stood up immediately, then hurriedly stood aside, subconsciously looking to the side nervously. These two new women came here. These two people should also be a pair of sisters. Their facial features are very similar, and they both have black hair and purple eyes, and they both have gentle smiles on their faces. The only difference is that one has long hair and a plump figure while also being slender. The other one has short ear-length hair and a big belly. Well, yes, it's big, unusually big. The short-haired woman's facial features are very delicate, and her limbs are relatively slender. Her only belly is very big, obviously bulging out a lot, and she is being supported by the long-haired woman on the side. Obviously, this is for pregnant women. Is it because I'm pregnant, so you can relax and train? No, we've been training. Sister Ren, please don't misunderstand me. However, Her Majesty obviously did not weaken because of this, but became stronger, making them dare not resist at all. Fortunately, the pregnant woman just chuckled and did not complain to them anymore. Instead, she slowly walked to the man and wanted to sit down aside. However, the man stood up early and was helped into his arms. Why did you come out today? You should lie down at home more. At this time, the man also showed a somewhat different pampering from the way he treated the three sisters just now. He looked more like he was treating a lover than a child. Sitting for too long is not good. Walking around is good for your health. That's true, but it's better not to come here. It would be bad if you get hurt accidentally. It's okay. They won't miss it, right? Yeah, X3. Hearing the woman's question with a smile, the three of them quickly explained. Such panic made the long-haired woman who was supporting the pregnant woman couldn't help but smile. Allah, Ninja-chan, don't scare them, just let them rest a little bit. No way, they have rested in private many times. As it is now, when they go back to Nine Snakes next time, someone may take away the throne. Hancock, what do you think? No, I will definitely work hard to keep the throne. 9 snakes are mine and Lord Ivan's, and I will definitely keep it. The black-haired girl in Cheongsam who was called also nodded hurriedly and responded. Even though she is now much taller than the pregnant woman in front of her, she still feels like a child when she is in front of her. No way. After all, a full 10 years have passed since childhood education and graduation. To Rebecca. Mommy, when will my sister come out? Please subscribe. Advertisement. Come on, Shinobi, come and drink some of this Anko soup. It's true, Master, I'm not a child, I can still eat by myself, you don't need to feed me. What are you talking about? It's because I'm no longer a child, so now I have to take better care of my body. It belongs to me and Shinobu-chan, so just be obedient. Really, I haven't decided yet what to call the child. After softly complaining about the man behind her with some helplessness, the pregnant woman shook her head helplessly, then opened her small mouth with a slight blush, and drank the Anko soup in front of her. After feeling the sweet taste, the woman's face showed a happy smile. The man hugging her behind her also had the same look of happiness on his face. This is Mariajoy, the home of the Dragon King Ivanlos Astoria. The right to conquer the world is at the center, in the mansion of the King of the World. And this man is naturally Ivan. 10 years passed in a hurry, and before he knew it, he had already been in this world for 3 years. In this world, he became celestial dragons, and 10 years ago, he awakened the system and became the heavenly Dragon King. It is no exaggeration to say that the world is now in his hands. Of course, for him who doesn't like trouble by nature, this kind of thing actually doesn't make much sense. Even if countries like Wano-kuni, Zo, Dressrosa, or 9 Snakes are completely under his command now, he doesn't care. The only thing he values is the cute girls around him. Oh, by the way, he hasn't summoned a new anime character in a long time. Although the function did not disappear, after just summoning a certain young lady who kept smiling, he stopped and did not summon again. So far, he has only summoned 4 people in total. It's not that he doesn't want to, but because after summoning it before, the system reminded him that it was because the space-time rift disappeared and the summoning function could not be repaired for the time being. Of course, although it was a bit of a pity, because there were already a lot of girls around him, he didn't pay too much attention and continued to flirt with them. Over the years, his relationship with them has naturally improved greatly. The girl blinked her big eyes cutely and looked at Ivan and Shinobi beside her with excitement. I have to say that the world is changing really fast. The second volume may have more warm daily life. Of course, there will be some important characters and new summoned characters. There are also some previous characters that will not disappear, they are all here. Please support. What? Yes, lively children are more interesting. It would be great if they could be as energetic as you. Is it still that long? Rebecca, you can't be too wild. You need to let Mommy Nin have a good rest. I'm sorry, Sister Nin, this child is too random. Advertisement. Dad. Asterisk. I saw a young Sakura-haired girl about 6 years old, running with a smile and rushing towards him. It's not so soon. It's still about 3 months away. Well, you can actually tell who their mother is just by listening to their names. Rebecca. What's wrong? Dad, my mother's belly is getting bigger and bigger. Is my sister going to come out? You can use your essence and blood to combine with the other person's blood to create a daughter that is very similar to the mother. Yeah, got it, Mommy Ninja. That's so energetic, but it will be very tiring. But in fact, the birth status of these children is also a bit subtle. But now, even Ren is pregnant and is already 7 months old. Even, he is already a father. At this time, a beautiful young woman with Sakura hair wearing a dress and her hair tied up slowly walked over, looking a little serious and helpless. Although the appearance is different, in fact, the difference is invisible to outsiders. Only he and the women around him know about it. Haha, Rebecca-chan, don't be so anxious, you can listen to your sister's voice first, just put your ear over here and listen. Because he is a time traveler, the system prompts that he cannot leave heirs in this world in the normal way. It's okay, Scarlet, a lively child can make me happier. Of course, Ren didn't care about this matter, so he just smiled and ignored it. The Sakura-haired young woman rolled her eyes at him slightly unhappily, but she still slowly sat on his lap, tilted her head slightly to one side, and leaned into his arms, enjoying herself as usual. Enjoy this relaxing moment. For example, Shalulia, Rebecca, and so on. When Ivan saw this, he also smiled and stretched out a hand to hug her. Of course, he did not touch Ninja. But it's not impossible. But at this moment, a lovely young and sweet voice came from the side. Well, yes, he is officially a father, and he has several lovely daughters. But Ivan on the side laughed happily. After hearing Shinobu chuckle and talk as usual, little Rebecca also put her small hands against Shinobu's big belly with a happy face, and then exaggeratedly put her ears there, which made Shinobu and Ivan unable to bear it. Living a little smile. Of course, no one cares. Anyway, they look very similar to me and Ivan, and they were both born by themselves. What's the difference? They are all such cute daughters. 3 Queen. Who cares? I want to follow Lord Ivan. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Hey, Sister Hancock, Sister Sonia, Sister Mary, can you teach me how to practice? Rebecca Chan, you can't even hold a wooden sword firmly. You'd better train your basic physical strength a little first. Looking at the little girl in front of her, she raised her head and looked at them excitedly. The 3 Hancock sisters, who had just finished training and came out of the shower, couldn't help but be a little stunned. But then they all reached out their hands and began to gently stroke the little guy in front of him on his head. No wonder Ivan-sama and Ninja-sama used to like touching their heads and faces so much. It was really comfortable. Ah, but running is so boring. Isn't there the same trick as 480 that suddenly becomes very powerful? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Yes, if it were so good, we wouldn't have to practice so hard. But I don't think Dad has ever practiced cultivation, but he is really amazing. Duh. XN. Ah, this. There is no way to say this, there are always some exceptions. After hearing these words, the 3 of them all had complicated expressions on their faces. They looked at someone who was talking and laughing with 2 beautiful young women not far away with tangled expressions. They couldn't say anything for a moment. A reason. How did they know this is the case? Anyway, starting from the past, I have never seen Master Ivan practicing, but it is true. But his power was already invincible 10 years ago. And after so many years, the power will only become more terrifying. I really don't know how Lord Ivan practices. Of course, this is not a big problem. Master Ivan himself is a God-given talent, and he is destined to be such an outstanding person. 10 years have passed, and they who should have regained their freedom long ago are still working as maids in Lord Ivan's house. Of course, 9 snakes also went back, and it was Lord Ivan who took the initiative to send them back. Lord Ivan and the others also stayed with 9 snakes for a while. Originally, 9 snakes were very resistant to men, especially Lord Ivan or the celestial dragons. But in fact, the people on the ship, as well as the Queen of Amazon Lily. To be precise, it should be the previous queen. They all heard about Lord Ivan's feats of changing the slavery system, and Lord Ivan's power. Because of his strength, everyone recognized him, and he was the only man to enter 9 snakes. Of course, he was the only man who came, and the rest were all women. Advertisement. But what made her a little depressed was that the incoming queen also took a fancy to Lord Ivan, so she wanted to keep Lord Ivan there. As a result, he provoked her and finally defeated her. As a result, the position of queen was passed on to her, saying that she would be the queen from now on. But there is a problem. The queen needs to stay in Amazon Lily. She can only go hunting at most. But the incoming queen directly passed the position to her, and then planned to stay with Lord Ivan. Who is this? How can a person with such a sense of responsibility be a queen? So of course he knocked the woman unconscious forcibly, and then followed Mr. Ivan out. Although I occasionally go back and let the acting queen continue to sit there, of course I still want to stay with Lord Ivan and will never go anywhere. Master Ivan is born with extremely powerful talents, and he should be very serious in private. Don't underestimate your efforts. As that's so, I don't think I've ever seen it. But if Dad is so powerful, why don't I have any talent? Little Rebecca curled up her small mouth in a depressed manner and complained uncomfortably. Although she is Ivan's daughter, she does not have much talent and feels very unhappy. Rebecca Chan's talent is already very high. People like you who are born with observation Haki awakening are very rare. Yeah, I've never seen it before. The rarity is no less than Conqueror's. But she was unhappy, but the 3 people next to her were even more depressed. You know, although this little girl's physical fitness is very ordinary, her reaction is extremely sharp, she can see through many things, and her Haki talent can be said to be used to the ultimate. But I don't quite understand. This thing seems to be of no use and can only be avoided. I really want to be able to break a steel bot with my hands like everyone else. Don't belittle yourself. If Haki is the strongest, he can predict a certain future. He is no weaker than the armed one. But at this moment, a gentle and intellectual voice came softly from the side. I saw a tall, black-haired beauty with long legs and high heels walking over slowly, with a gentle smile on her face. Sister Robin, is it true? Of course, as far as I know, the number of people who can do this is much less than the people who specialize in armed colors, but they are all extremely powerful people. Great. Then I have to practice hard. Speaking of which, how should I practice? Haha. Let's start with running. You can't be weak in physical fitness. We have to start from this. I originally wanted to put chapters 87 to 108 into volume 1.5, but I still seemed a little confused after playing around with it, so I put it back. Alas, I was confused. Maybe I really wrote this plot in a terrible way. Sure enough, you shouldn't write inappropriate content. But I will write this volume well. For the Dragon King who is disliked by his wives, please subscribe. Advertisement. Haha, it seems that Rebecca has gained a little interest in practicing. Seeing my little daughter not far away, she began to trot in earnest, looking cute and not far away. Ivan couldn't help but reveal a happy smile on his face. This little girl has always been very lively. He has a bright smile and a soft heart, just like in the original work, and he really doesn't like to exercise. Ivan always felt that this was not a good thing. Just because she is a girl, she should have the power to protect herself. Otherwise, who knows if we will encounter any accidents. After all, unlike the down and out, invincible daughter, in the original work, she is now his daughter, and there are countless people in the world who want to take advantage of her. What do girls do with swords, guns and sticks all day long? Really, they are so dirty. But at this time, a beautiful young woman with Sakura hair on the side complained angrily, obviously dissatisfied with 24 Rebecca's behavior and Ivan's emotion. Isn't it my godmother's eternal night orb? It won't be dirty. Even so, it's very unpleasant to see this child sitting on the ground from time to time. The orb given by mother is not meant to be used to drip mud. As for Ivan's explanation, she continued to refute, with a confident look, which made Ivan dumbfounded and didn't know how to refute. After being married for so many years, he certainly knows the truth. That is, if a woman becomes unruly, it is useless for you to reason with her. Rebecca has not exercised much since she was a child. In fact, part of the reason is also because of her mother. That's Scarlet next to him. She really didn't like letting Rebecca practice, and she had always been opposed to it. That's right, from a common sense point of view, Rebecca is also a princess after all, and she is the daughter of the Dragon King. With such a noble status, why would he have to make his little hands full of blisters all day long? It's heartbreaking to watch. Of course, Ivan feels better. He was very tired from training when he was a child, and he never gave up. But it's hard to say anything myself. After all, over the years, he himself has not fulfilled the responsibilities of a father. There are too many girls around him, so he often indulges in beautiful things. There are also many times when he neglects to care for his daughter. They and their wives take care of them. Naturally, it's hard to say anything more. Speaking of which, are Albedo and Acid still hanging out recently? I haven't seen them in a long time. But at this time, Scarlet also showed a somewhat curious look, asked Shinobu who was aside, and then mentioned a name that he had not mentioned for a while. Yeah, it's not even a year yet. They are still outside complaining about not coming back, but I think that when the World Summit is held at the end of this year, they should also come to participate in the conference. But after hearing these two names, Shinobu showed a very happy look on his face, and his original gentle smile seemed to be slightly naughty. Ha ha ha, that's really exciting. I feel like their expressions will be very exciting. Advertisement. Scarlet was the same, she couldn't help but pursed her lips and snickered. She still remembered that half a year ago, these two girls, as well as Ren, made a bet together, saying that whoever was the first to become pregnant with Ivan's child would be able to stay with him for a whole year, and the remaining two he's about to leave for a year, so don't pester him. In the end, Shinobu succeeded. Now that I think about it, the expressions on Albedo and Acid's faces were really interesting. Speaking of which, Sister Ren, I'm going to be invisible for a while. I can't disturb the relationship between you and Ivan too much. But when she said this, Scarlet also blinked at Shinobu and Ivan, and then gestured to her playfully. They said they left with complaints, but in fact everyone knew very well that they didn't want to be with Ivan and take away his love for her. When she was pregnant, everyone no longer stayed with him all the time like before, but often went out to go shopping by themselves or with a few people. She and Ivan are often left alone. This is the benefit of being an expectant mother. Therefore, this period of time is also one of the happiest times for Shinobu, and he should not keep it forever. No need, I don't really want to chat with this bad guy like my master anymore. I'd rather learn more about parenting from my good sisters. Really? But at this time, Ren smiled and held her hand, preventing her from leaving. He also stood up from Ivan's lap and pulled her aside. Of course it's true. This guy, he's always been very frivolous lately, you know, he's so bad, so I'd better sleep with you Scarlet lately, I still have a lot of experiences that I want to ask you for. Okay. Then let's go together. It's best to leave this bad guy behind. You're all gone, what should I do? Hearing the two sisters singing in harmony, Ivan couldn't help but feel a little depressed. He is hugging his wife. Is there any problem? And in fact, he didn't do anything to her. Everything was under control. How could he be disliked by his 250-year-old wife? Hancock-chan, aren't they perfect for each other? I see you just called them darlings very intimately. You have finally started to take action against these three children, although it is not a good idea to take action while enduring my sister's pregnancy, I still support you. Ahem. Actually it's not that exaggerated, No need to explain, don't we know you yet? Everyone must be able to attack them. Now that they are adults, they must not be able to bear it. Alas, isn't my image in their eyes too bad? It's time to eat, everyone can come over. But at this time, a gentle voice came from not far away. I saw a woman with long black hair wearing a butterfly feather fabric, standing at the corner door, looking at them with a chuckle, holding a spoon in her hand, and wearing a pink apron in front of her. Oh, by the way, my sister is now quite old. My lord, it's time for you to work harder to capture her. X2. I have never heard of anyone advising someone to do this. Of course, the characters who appeared before will appear, including Toki and A Nin, who failed to write the plot later, but their roles here are temporarily difficult to come out, which I will write about later. 5. Dad. I was bullied by my sister. Please subscribe. Advertisement. That's it. When fighting, you have to pay attention to the continuity of your breath. Don't disrupt your rhythm because of the opponent's changing moves. You have to connect everything together. This way you can become lighter and lighter. Feel it, to the changes around you. Yes. After hearing the words of the beautiful girl with long green hair in front of her, the young Sakura-haired girl responded seriously, then raised the wooden sword in her hands seriously, staring at the surroundings. Sure enough, 5 or 6 green pythons suddenly rushed down from above. The source is the green-haired woman's head, which is actually her hair. But facing this terrifying Gorgon, the immature girl was not nervous, but began to dodge lightly. Obviously his movements are not very fast, but he is able to get out of the way at the most critical moment every time, giving people an unusually light and relaxed feeling, as if he still has some energy left. Of course, in fact, you can tell by looking at her blinking eyes and the sweat on her face that she is actually quite nervous and tired. There were several people around watching the battle between the two of them, and they all had a look of satisfaction on their faces. This child's progress is really fast. It should be said that Haki is born with the knowledge of seeing, hearing, and color. He got the hang of it easily. Rebecca-chan is only 6 years old now. Do you want to let her rest more? However, there is still one person who feels a little troubled. A beautiful woman wearing a butterfly feather fabric and 2 emerald green butterfly hairpins on both sides of her head suggested softly with a gentle voice, with a look of unbearability in her eyes. After all, she had watched this child grow up, and she was even responsible for delivering the baby. She had always been very gentle to her since she was a child. Now that I see her persisting in practicing and enduring hardships, I still feel a little distressed. Sister Kanae, don't worry so much. This child is actually in good physical condition, and in our country, it's okay to start hunting at this age. However, a tall girl with long black hair on the side also retorted. After all, this child has always had very good qualities. At this age, if she were on Nine Snake Island, she would have already started hunting wild beasts. Where can she live like a princess like she is now? Oh, no, she is not a princess, she is a real princess. But also because she is rarely willing to take the initiative to receive training, naturally no one will coddle her anymore. Kanae, don't be too arrogant to her. Think about it, you have already picked up the sword and become stronger at about the same age. Moreover, the conditions are much more difficult, and you have to maintain a firm belief. It is more difficult than her. It's much harder. But just when she wanted to continue to refute, the man who had been watching silently on the side finally spoke. Advertisement. After hearing these words, the woman named Kanae also looked at him and fell into deep thought. After a while, she also smiled. That's right, children always have to grow up. Moreover, as a father, he must feel distressed about this, but he is also more satisfied with his daughter's growth. Speaking of which, where did Ninja-chan and Scarlet-chan go? It seems like they haven't been seen since just now. However, she was also a little curious about her sisters at this time. It seemed that she had not seen anyone for an hour. They said they wanted to go live with Charlie for a while recently and exchange parenting experiences with each other. They just asked Mary and the others to take them with them. Really? Why did you leave without telling me? That kid is so serious. 1. Hearing this, even Kanae's good temper couldn't help but complain a little. No wonder he was still there during the meal, but disappeared afterward. He is actually running so fast. He obviously has a daughter who is still here. I didn't tell you on purpose. I wanted you to stay. Why? Quote. Maybe he wants us to have more space to get along. But when she heard this, Kanae couldn't help being a little stunned. After seeing the slightly ambiguous smile on this man's face, her face suddenly turned red, and then she lowered her head in embarrassment, Qian Wanghao, and gently placed her hands on him. Together, I was embarrassed to look at him. Although they have become very familiar with each other over the years, the relationship between the Lord and her sister has made her conservative at heart, and she can only stop there. But now she suddenly said such words, which made her feel a little. I can't hold on any longer. Sister Sonia is bullying others. Dad, I won't practice anymore. XN. But the atmosphere that had just become a little ambiguous suddenly became a little more subtle. Everyone's faces soon showed a look of dumbfounding. Alas, I still have to take care of the baby. 6 Slave Auction House. Employment agencies. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. So fast, so fast. Woohoo is about to fly. Be careful, Rebecca, don't stretch out your hands, it could be dangerous. I know. After hearing the words of the man on the side, the young girl who had originally happily stretched out her 2 little hands out of the window responded obediently and then took her little hands back. However, his eyes were still looking at the surrounding environment excitedly. It is surrounded by dense soap bubble forests and a thick grassland below. There are relatively few people and the environment is quite beautiful, making it suitable as a tourist attraction. Of course, they were actually quite okay with the scene around them. After all, they were tired of seeing it after so many years. The main reason is that the scenery in front of me changes too fast. Because now, they are sitting on a bubble-powered car that is running very fast. This type of car became popular 10 years ago. Because someone banned the use of hard-working transportation and switched to taking a bus, related industries began to flourish. Many cars like the current 813, which use bubbles as power, have also been developed. Of course, there are also those round-wheeled cars on land, which are very fast, but they are not very suitable in a place like this. But the car they are riding in now is the latest one developed by this car company. It is the latest model that can drive smoothly and quickly even on such grass, so they are out for a ride now. Well, after all, as Ivan is, he can naturally be the first to use this new model. Now he and others drove the car and took Rebecca and others out for a stroll. However, the only others were Kanae, the 3 Hancock sisters, Mary was back, and Rebecca, and the rest were not taken with them. After all, if you take those people with you, you will have to wait for a long time, and you will be watched by many people. After being watched for so many years, he sometimes didn't like that feeling, so it was better to go out and hang out in private. It's now in convertible mode, and it's also designed to be able to wrap around the outside, and it's super hard and can even defend against artillery shells. For some reason, she seemed to feel that many people were staring at her with some weird looks, some of which made her uncomfortable. But they weren't too worried about being recognized or anything like that. But hasn't Charlie been there many times? Charlie's mother often took her there. She said it was quite lively there. Alas, it's lively, but it's not a good place. I don't want to, there are a lot of people there. I don't know, Dad, there's no place in particular I want to go. When they came down before, they just talked to the people inside, and then drove the car out, but it was really hard to say where they were going. Advertisement. But because of this, he felt a lot more relaxed when he traveled privately, and he didn't have to be recognized all the time like before. When Rebecca heard this, she shook her head directly. Then do you want to go to the amusement park? In fact, as a princess, she doesn't really like to go to places with a lot of people. That's right, Rebecca, where are you going to play? Of course, it was still impossible to just let her go out alone. XN. So others followed suit. But it seems a bit boring to keep running around aimlessly like this. Lord Ivan, where is the best place for us to go now? She can even distinguish other people's malice and kindness towards her relatively clearly, so Ivan is not very worried that she will be deceived. If you go to a crowded place and you are discovered, you will probably be worshipped like a god again. Even Mary, who was driving, suddenly slowed down a lot, which was very weird. After all, even if you can't become the heavenly dragon king, if you enjoy imitating the other person's fashion, style, there's nothing wrong with it, right? After all, the clothes worn by several people now are relatively low-key and tight. They will also wear sunglasses when there are many people. If you don't look carefully, you really can't recognize them. But when they heard this innocent girl suddenly say this word, the expressions of several people present suddenly changed. Ivan also nodded, and then asked Rebecca, who was held in Kanae's lap next to her. In order not to attract attention, their car did not have any special features. It looked very ordinary in appearance, but of course it was much better in performance. To be honest, they couldn't stand that feeling and didn't really like it. What's more, there are too many cars like this and people dressed like this here. At this time, Mary, who was driving, also asked curiously. Ahem, Rebecca, that kind of place is not suitable for children. Wait until you grow up a little bit. Oh, by the way, Dad, I want to go to that employment agency you often go to. I've never been there. Please take me there. I have to say that the design of this car is really specially designed for the level of celestial dragons. Well, it's actually caused by Haki's natural observation, which allows her to see many things that others can't notice. Well, because when someone travels, he usually dresses like this. 7 inches slave. Girl crawl, please subscribe. Advertisement. Sabayati Archipelago, Area 1, Employment Agency. In a spacious, dimly lit room, rows of people were arranged side by side. The structure is downward. Entering from the door, the further forward, the lower the position, and the more clearly you can see the man at the bottom wearing exaggerated glasses from Taichung. But although the lights were dim, the atmosphere at the scene was quite warm. Most of the people present were also dressed relatively richly, and many of them looked either rich or noble. Come on, come on. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone's favorite rare pastime program is here again today. Let's see which lovely lady or strong man can you find a job you like today. Ha ha ha. XN. After hearing what the host said, everyone present began to burst into laughter. He smiled very happily, as if he really said something interesting. If you just hear the name, employment agency, you may actually think that this is a good place. Help some unemployed people find their own employers, and these people seem to be rich, then the jobs they find will be pretty good. It would be nice if that were the case. This employment agency had another name just 10 years ago. Slave Auction House. This used to be a place where slaves were auctioned. However, 10 years ago, after the Dragon King Ivanlos Astoria issued the law to abolish slavery, no one dared to use the word slave openly anymore. Even the ones in the secret place have been cleared out for some reason. Places such as Happy Street and Gulen Tezzolo Entertainment Company originally had a large demand for slaves, and people there liked to hire slaves to work. But unknowingly, after the Heavenly Dragon King issued the law, these two places all changed in an instant. And the slave traders related to it also disappeared one by one, scaring the original people into changing careers quickly. Obviously, there must be some secret move to conquer the world. Anyone who dares to continue on this path will be killed. However, even if the slaves disappear, it is unrealistic to completely cancel this existence. There will be oppression only when there is demand. If you don't provide a slightly more relaxed situation, then I'm afraid the secret slave trade will become even more rampant. These contract laborers today are actually the slaves of the past. Of course, the treatment will definitely be much better. At least you don't have to worry about your life safety, and you will be satisfied as much as possible with food and accommodation. Each contract laborer will have 1 day off per week, regular physical health examinations, and can also report to the Contract Labor Association. If the evidence is conclusive, he may be freed, and the employer will be fined, or even it's severe punishment. So now employers don't dare to be too arrogant with these contract workers. At most, they can scold and occasionally beat them, but they don't dare to take it too seriously. Of course, the contract workers who were caught were naturally very reluctant to accept this kind of thing. Advertisement. Why should you waste your youth serving someone you don't like at all? What's more, if you encounter a bad employer, it will be even more painful. Dad, the atmosphere here feels so strange. Why are they so happy? At this time, in a corner, a young girl with sakura hair was also being held by a man and stood not far from the door. Then she asked him, followed by 4 figures. A graceful and tall woman. And everyone's face is also wearing a pair of sunglasses, making it difficult to see their appearance. Of course, this doesn't come as a surprise. Because there are too many people like this, and because of someone's behavior, there are still many people imitating it. Some of them are very similar, much more like that person than they are now, so it doesn't attract anyone's attention. Please give me flowers. Quote. It's nothing, most of them are just watching the fun. Although he didn't really want to answer like this, after hearing his daughter's question, the man answered a little helplessly. Although he didn't want to bring his daughter to this kind of place, but. No, Dad, please, I want to go and see it. There is nothing I can do about my daughter being spoiled like this, there is really no way I can do it. His daughter's personalities mostly follow their mother's, but not his. Although they are all very close to him and like to act coquettishly to him, they do have their own ideas. Then, the next step for us is to start filming, ahem. It's about finding a suitable home for these young and lovely girls. Ha ha ha, XN. Heck, even little girls have so many. Looking at this group of girls who looked very thin, had messy hair, and were about the same age as Rebecca, Ivan's face became a little ugly. Although I have better laws for these younger children, they may not be able to be rectified in reality. In fact, some of these slaves still die every year. Even if they are punished, some of them are not serious. After all, they are protected by officials below. Unless he sees it with his own eyes, it is almost the same. But it's better than before. Let's calm down and take a look. This girl always seems so familiar. Then first, let's introduce our happy girl Clar. Who wouldn't like this little guy who can bring you a bright smile every day and serve you with a smile all the time? Is her. Looking at the young girl standing in the center of the stage with a stiff smile on her face, Ivan's expression became more serious again. Alas, these things are indeed not finished yet. Can this fat pig just die? Please subscribe. Advertisement. What? Just such a thin little girl. It doesn't look too bad, it's just that the eyes are a little bigger. I guess I can't do much work. But looking at her like this, wouldn't it be possible that even if she was beaten, she wouldn't report it? Oh, this sounds quite interesting. After seeing the first auction, oh no, it was a girl who came to find a job. Many people started talking about it. Obviously, this little girl is unremarkable, and is too young to cause people to have any strange ideas. But this smile, which looks fake at first glance, actually interests many people. Because many people are now afraid of being held accountable. If they are not allowed to take one day off a week, someone from the association will call or even directly petition. But they don't dare to provoke these people, because these people directly take orders from the Dragon King, and even other celestial dragons are checked. However, if it is this kind of slave who seems to be good, and dare not complain, then the torture will be much more interesting. Therefore, even if this girl is not very good looking, many people present are really interested. Compared with a beautiful woman who cannot be touched, compared with a little girl who can be bullied casually, the latter is actually more enjoyable. Then the starting price is 800,000, and each increase must not be less than 50,000 Baileys. Who can bring the best work benefits to a girl like this who likes to laugh? Let's start. 1 million, 1.3 million, 1.5 million, 2 million. I originally thought it was the cheapest and worst commodity, but unexpectedly it quickly fetched an incredible price. Most of the beautiful slave girls can't even get this price. One can imagine what kind of taste people nowadays have. After seeing this scene, the smile on the host's face became even brighter. It seems that people here particularly like this type, probably because they are under the emperor's feet, so they don't dare to do anything without permission. If I had known earlier, I would have put it up for auction later. But it doesn't matter, there will be opportunities in the future. Even though I just came to work here, I have won the trust of the Joker. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else? You know, this lovely girl is hard to find. She is a natural puncher who won't fight back even if she is hit or scolded. Isn't there anyone who wants to be willing to do so? Offer a higher price. Therefore, you must work hard now and fully express your abilities to the ultimate. 3,005, 4 million, 60,075. I have to say that the effect of these words is indeed very strong. After hearing these words, the people around him immediately became excited and shouted crazily. Advertisement. The price also shot up to an incredible price in an instant. Obviously, they rarely see such commodities anymore. In the past, they didn't care about this kind of stuff at all. But now, there are rare things to live in. I just like this kind of slave, who might even be half dead without reporting the crime. Well, yes, they are slaves. Even if their identities have changed on the surface, in reality, who would really regard them as ordinary people? Slaves are always heavy. If it weren't for Lord Ivan's kindness, these slaves would never have been treated like this. But in reality, how could he, who was classified as the Heavenly Dragon King, care about the lives of these slaves every day? So, after being called out like this, everyone couldn't help but become excited. Dad, it's really uncomfortable when these people talk. What are they doing? They're not looking for jobs, right? The scene that happened in front of her also made the Sakura-haired girl at the back couldn't help but throw her face into her father's arms uncomfortably, and then there was a look of intolerance on her face, and she was very sad. I asked excitedly. Although she is still very naive, she is not a fool and can distinguish many things. These people clearly want to abuse this girl. What kind of career introduction is this? Quote dot dot dot. Well, this used to be a slave auction house. Then, isn't that kind of person gone anymore? Hearing this, the girl couldn't accept it even more. Even she knew about the existence of slaves, but they had been completely abolished by her father a few years ago, so she also admired her father very much and was able to make many, many things. Awesome thing. But why is this still there now? The situation of slaves is much better than before, but now we still can't completely change it, we can only do it little by little. But, I'll offer 50 million. But at this moment, an excited and somewhat stupid sounding voice suddenly shouted out. Everyone who was bidding just now was frightened into silence. Because the owner of the voice came from the bandit at the front. It was a fat boy with a face full of flesh, the expression on his face was twisted into a ball, and he was wearing a bubble hood. Why is this a fat pig? It's so annoying. But at this time, even the Sakura-haired girl who was just uncomfortable before could not help but complain with disgust on her face. Can this fat pig just die? Our St. Charles is indeed generous. 50 million, is there anyone with more money? 9 I'm targeting trash like you, celestial dragons. Subscribe. Advertisement. No, the gap with our opponents is too big. Nothing compared to celestial dragons. Indeed, it's better to change your goal. It's better to find someone young and beautiful to entertain your eyes. Seeing the man at the front, he actually spoke at this time. Several competitors who were still shouting had given up their ideas at this time. This man should have been quite young, but because of the fat on his face, he looked much older. He has curly black hair, a plump face, thick lips, a runny nose, and he wears random clothes. This is the symbol of celestial dragons. No matter what, 50 million is really too high. If it were higher, you could even buy a mermaid directly. Moreover, if you dare to compete with the celestial dragons, let alone not being able to rob it at all, even if you win, you may not be able to take it back with your life. It's not worth it for such a little slave. Ha ha ha, this woman is mine too. I just said that she won't fight back even if I hit her casually, it doesn't matter what I do, right? The celestial dragons named Charos also looked proud at this time, and even said these words directly, obviously he was used to it. Logically speaking, according to the regulations of the Heavenly Dragon King, even the celestial dragons cannot act too arbitrarily. Although he has certain privileges, it is not to the extent that he can abuse others at will. But even if other people heard it, they wouldn't dare to say anything. If it were anyone else, they could still fight, but forget it with celestial dragons. I'm afraid it won't do anything if I say it. On the contrary, if someone finds out, it will be miserable in the future. That's natural. Whatever you want to do, St. Charles, is naturally arbitrary. Pipe, quote. Then even if I use her to practice shooting, it doesn't matter if I kill her. XN. But at this moment, Charos suddenly said a terrifying word, which made the faces of everyone present change. Even Crawl, who had always maintained a stiff smile, the expression on her face instantly froze and became stiffer. Even her stiff smile showed obvious fear. I hear that no one kills people here. Why would this gentleman say such a thing? XN. After hearing these words, even the host felt that this celestial dragons was really outrageous. Because over the years, even he, celestial dragons, would never dare to speak so arrogantly. Yes, who is it? After all, there are many people in the labor administration now, and they have real power. If you have really done something, you will definitely be dealt with according to the punishment. In very serious cases, even celestial dragons will be severely punished. Advertisement. It's too crazy. In all these years, he has actually never heard anyone say that he wants to directly kill these people. As a result, a son was born who looked like a weakling by nature, with a runny nose, ugly appearance, a fat face, and a stupid brain. What nonsense are you talking about? I just want to kill her whenever I want. I have to consider so many things to do. I am celestial dragons. I have to say that these words really scared everyone present. But for her who has dared to take action, she is naturally fearless. After all, after the Heavenly Dragon King came to power, no one dared to do this. The guards hurried over at this time, and then spoke to her fiercely. Charles Saint, directly kill. The act of killing contract workers is prohibited and against the law. Please think twice about this, if you are not careful. But she really didn't expect that she would be killed by this adult. Do you really have to die? The Roswald family did not dare to say anything. They were missing 2 legs and were ridiculed by other celestial dragons for their sins against Lord Ivan. Even the celestial dragon's woman who was originally married to him was divorced. Because a beautiful figure suddenly appeared, Zhao kicked him on his fat belly, and then made him roll forward several times, and then followed the person in front fiercely. The host bumped into each other, and both of them were bruised and swollen. Seeing this beautiful woman with sunglasses on her face and a tight outfit, but still unable to conceal her charm, everyone present could not help but be completely dumbfounded. She has been living a relatively poor life over the years. The rest is even worse. No one in the family will teach him these things, and even if he was told, he wouldn't pay attention. I'm fighting celestial dragons. What? Do you have any objections? Jin. So before she was sold here, she was already used to this kind of numb life. Therefore, he speaks so unscrupulously now. But at this moment, he suddenly couldn't say the next words. Although they are not slaves, they are actually little different from slaves in private. They must learn to work hard at a young age. It's better to say something. Quote. But Lord Ivan didn't care at all. Not long after that incident, he officially became the Heavenly Dragon King. That incident really shocked the entire Sabayati archipelago. Those who can't work will be killed, because waste is not even qualified to eat. How dare you fight celestial dragons? What are you doing? You're fighting celestial dragons. So, let me do it now. Poof. Moreover, you must know that his father, Roswad, of Charos, also had his legs cut off directly by the subordinates of the Dragon King. As a result, Roswad's old mother died of anger soon after. 10 In my opinion, you are more suitable to be a slave. Please subscribe. Advertisement. Is this person crazy? Who on earth dares to do this? She doesn't want her life. I have to say that the scene happening now is really shocking. This black-haired woman actually dared to attack the celestial dragons. More than 10 years ago, perhaps no one would have thought that someone would do such a terrible thing. After all, everyone has their own family, friends and so on. Even if you don't care about it yourself, you still have to think about them, right? Although the term, implicating the 9 tribes, does not apply in this world, it does not mean that these stingy celestial dragons will not do this. If you know your identity, even if you can run away, what about your family members? I guess I will never miss wearing small shoes in life. Even if they stay at the scene now, there may still be some danger, so many people are already preparing to run away. I have to run away quickly, or something big will happen at 120. No, of course I have to continue watching such a good-looking show. But isn't it dangerous to stay? What are you afraid of? We are all witnesses. Master Ivan has always taught the celestial dragons in front of us. Even if Saint Charos is a celestial dragons, he cannot directly attack us, and he is like this now. No time to care about us. Yeah, don't worry, just watch the fun. However, at this time, many, experienced, people showed a very calm look and continued to stay, which persuaded some people who originally wanted to run away. It seems so. Although the celestial dragons have always been brutal, they have actually been punished quite often over the years. Even if someone is not physically present, as long as someone from the supervisory bureau is present, the celestial dragon's actions can still be restricted. Disobeying the order would be equivalent to slapping Ivan in the face, so even the celestial dragons with brains would not dare to do this. Of course, after a brainless person is taught a lesson, he will naturally become more intelligent. It's okay to have conflicts with others, but if you dare to directly attack the people around you, then maybe a group of people will come to inform you, and then you will definitely not be able to live with it. But now this scene is naturally very shocking. And this woman is naturally Hancock. But it's not entirely their fault. Obvious signs of bone dislocation were actually reflected in Charo's fat hands, let alone what was going on inside. But with Hancock's skills, how could he be frightened by such a thing? Ah, of course, because she is wearing pants instead of the usual cheongsam, she doesn't have to worry about being exposed. Advertisement. But the rest are no longer good, they all still look aloof. In my opinion, you are more suitable to be Kong. Damn it, you dare to attack me. I will turn you into a slave. Of course, that doesn't mean no one recognized it. After a little bit of cross-dressing, he was immediately unrecognizable. In fact, Ivan rarely brings Hancock and the others here, and rarely brings them out. Moreover, this time Hancock was the only one who showed up, so no one was exposed for a while. Then the guards finally reacted and surrounded Hancock. And although this is a woman, it seems that I have never seen this person next to Master Ivan, and I have never seen Master Ivan here. At this time, Charles actually recovered and reluctantly stood up and shouted at Hancock, holding a golden pistol in his hand. So at the next moment, Hancock dodged again, kicked the pistol away, and then pressed down on Charles's arm with a kick, stomping down hard. YF2F. So she just kicked a few fragrant kicks, easily kicking the surrounding guards until they fainted, and even kicked them into position. But for others, it is not such a relaxed state of mind. XN. She really couldn't stand it just now. This man's attitude was exactly the same as that of the guy who wanted to buy them before. And one of the housekeepers under Charo's, a big dog leg, couldn't help but become angry at this time, and then directly called the surrounding guards to prepare for action. Obviously, she didn't have much thought of showing mercy. You damn woman. Catch her. Gala. However, this fighting posture makes some people feel that it seems inexplicably familiar, but they can't remember who it is. But in fact, as long as he still has some brains, he shouldn't show up now. If it weren't for the regulations, they would still be their former selves. CEDC, I can only say that most people in this world do not have very good eyesight. Even though the celestial dragons have not been beaten before, it seems that only Ivan and a few of his subordinates dare to do it so far. I have never seen anyone dare to do it on their own. A few people sitting at the end had noticed Ivan's side, and their eyes began to become nervous and full of awe, but no one dared to say it directly. The group of young female celestial dragons, actually only a few who followed Miss Sharley, were a little better and had changed. No, actually these celestial dragons are all the same. Ju actually broke his hand. Obviously, this is not something they are qualified to say. Well, maybe it was because of the fat body and the host being pressed down by him that they protected him, otherwise the blow just now was enough for him to bear. So she couldn't help but take action now, just to teach this scumbag who ruined the reputation of celestial dragons, or in other words, ruined the reputation of Lord Ivan.